9 o'clock, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda is approve the minutes of September 11th, 2023 as written.
I'll move.
I'll second that.
Moved by McCurry, seconded by Thompson. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Matches. Passes. 401.
I
Miscellaneous,
need to move that one unless you're gonna get,
miscellaneous motions.
yeah, it should be this one first.
Oh, okay.
I'll move that one
Miscellaneous motions is moved upon the recommendation of the Coffee County Housing Authority Board, moved to authorize director chairman to sign real estate mortgage release acknowledgement satisfaction in full debt secured by Jason Allen, one being at the northeast corner of the northeast quarter. Oh my goodness, so section 1, township 22, range 14, east of the 6th principal meridian,
Yeah.
Coffee County, Kansas. Thence south along east line of said northeast quarter on an assumed bearing of south zeros, west distance of 848 feet, south 89, 2836, west distance 375,
in. I messed it up.
0, no, that's bouncing around a little bit.
Sorry.
East of distance of 400, why are we redoing this? 848 feet north to the line of said northeast quarter, north 89, 28, 36, east distance 375 feet, to point of bearing said tract contains 7.30 acres, subject to all easements and on record, of record, the volume and page of the mortgage is recorded in is book volume M 283, page 9 or 394 through 395 of the records Register of Deeds for Coffee County, Kansas. If you don't like what I just read, you can order a request for information.
Couldn't just say 7.3 acres.
Yeah, couldn't just say 7.3 acres. We had to, yeah, okay.
So move.
Moved by Meeks,
I'll second that.
seconded by Thompson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Goodness gracious. Now we go to the next one down.
Mm-hmm.
Moved upon the request of Coffee County Housing Authority Board, moved to authorize director chairman to sign real estate mortgage release acknowledging satisfaction in full debt secured by Joyce A. Winery?
What is it?
Winery, okay. Lots 1 and 2 in block 161 in city of Burlington, Coffee County, Kansas. Volume and page of the mortgage is recorded in the book volume M300, page 524 through 525, records of Register of Deeds for Coffee County, Kansas.
Alright, so move.
I'll second. Are these ones that we've done before and then you had to rescind?
You did, this one you did last week, or
One.
2 weeks ago,
2
we
weeks.
had to rescind
Had to
it.
rescind it.
And then now, Rhonda said this one is true, we need to do this one now.
Okay.
Moved by Thompson, seconded by McCurry, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Now the next one, Rhonda can come up.
Rhonda, you're up. Thanks for jumping around.
And I sent that correction here for you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm just here to request the landfill waiving of 504 Juneberry, or excuse me, 948 Highway 58.
Yes.
Really sorry.
Right there on
Yep.
Juneberry though.
Yes,
Yeah.
right there on Juneberry. And for Randy Kraft, I think Randy Graybill is planning on doing a demo. They just want to clean it up and everything. You can see the house is pretty far gone, or it's in pretty bad shape and everything, so.
Yeah.
There.
Build that.
Not at this time, but, could be a possibility. They just want to get it cleaned out.
Yeah,
They build a new home west of there.
Yes.
Oh,
I mean,
They might do a shop or
Yeah.
something, or, but they just,
they didn't live here before.
Yeah.
right.
They've retired, building a home.
They're just wanting to get it
Want to
cleaned
clean
up.
this
getting it
up.
cleaned up,
I
yeah.
haven't driven up Jimberry Road for several months.
I so move.
I'll second.
Been moved by Thompson, seconded by Meeks, to waive landfill fees for structure owned by Randy and Sherry Kraft located at 948 Highway 50, Gridley, Kansas. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bobby. I was hoping Wade was gonna be here.
I'm gonna go get him.
Yeah. We need Wade.
Not necessary,
It's
but
not necessary.
I'm not gonna ask for any action or,
Okay.
Wade's gonna, well, yeah, we'll just, I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
So, what will it be regarding?
We'll press an executive session for the purpose of discussion of trade secrets and financial affairs of a corporation for 20 minutes, to include Bobby Skipper and the commission.
Trade secrets of a corporation. I think.
Would you prefer I start listing the section of the statute?
No, I was just looking. Okay. Okay, say that again. What did you say? Financial affairs of a corporation?
Yes, ma'am. Trade secrets and financial affairs of a corporation.
Okay. I can type it all day.
Need Wade on this.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, good. Maybe not what I'm thinking of then.
Fix this here. Okay,
Done?
yeah, pretty much.
For 20 minutes, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Motion to enter executive session for 20 minutes, including the commission, board, and economic development, Bobby Skipper, to discuss trade secrets and financial affairs of a corporation under Kansas Open Meeting Act, KSA 75-4, 319E2.
I'll start one.
Moved by Meeks,
I'll second.
second by McCurry. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. We'll enter at 9:12 for 20 minutes.
9:12.
9:12. I've got 9:10.
Okay. All right, we made it. Yay.
Wade made us stop along the way back. There he is.
Okay.
We're back, no action taken on previous executive session. Okay. Done some flipping and flopping around here. Road and Bridge, Ron Durst, you're up, sir.
All right.
Thanks for letting us do some flip flopping.
Oh, you bet, no problem.
How you doing, Ron?
Good, how are you guys?
Good.
Good. Let's see, didn't have any call-outs this weekend. No road permits, but I've got several motions to go over today. First one would be a CP2. This would be for Dylan Wanzer, and he would be, promotion for the Assistant Fleet Crew Supervisor. This was previously, Terry Fisher's position, and he's the foreman now, so this is, his replacement. And CP2 from a 40-2 to a 40-6.
Motion to review and approve CP2 payroll notice for Dylan Wanzer, Assistant Fleet Crew Leader, Highway Promotion, wage classification 40-2 to 40-6, wage from 2136 to 2306, effective 9/18 of 23.
What's his current title, or?
Special Equipment Operator. I mean,
This is a step up.
well, it is. I
In
mean, it's in the same
responsibility.
category, but this has the supervisory portion to it where he's, supervising guys, so that's,
I looked and I know it's in the same.
it's in the same category. Yeah, it's a little funny that way. At some point in time, I think there could be some discussion on maybe changing some of that, but, that's probably further down the road.
Do you think this is a good position for him?
Yeah, I do.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by McCurry,
Oh, second.
seconded by Meeks. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
All right, thank you. The next one, wasn't for sure if we needed a motion on this, but I need to extend the hours for a summer help employee. And I don't know if that's just discussion or if we needed a motion on that.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any way you can change it without a motion.
Okay, so I know we originally brought them in at 540 hours, and sometimes we could get to the end of that and we extend that out. So we'd like to take him from 540 hours and not to exceed 1,000 hours.
Motion authorize extending hours for one seasonal employee, Jerome Ferguson, from 540 hours to and not to exceed 1,000 hours. I'll move.
I'll second.
Moved by Knight, seconded by Thompson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye, motion passes.
All right, thank you. Next, I have some disposal motions. This would be for just some miscellaneous parts and filters. A lot of it's just older stuff for some equipment that we don't even have. So we've got 4 different disposal motions with 4 different vendors. And basically the total we're looking at is $5,475 between the 4. But we will need a disposal motion to get credit back on those.
They all are agreeable to do that?
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
Good.
Good job. I don't know whether we'll do it every year or not, but we'll do it, it's done every couple of years.
Good.
anyway.
I just,
Clean up and then. So the vendors will credit you back.
They will, and it took some work because, some of these were pretty older filters, and you had to go back and we had to find the original, purchase receipts from when we purchased them, and that's, that's what they're crediting us for, so.
okay.
So my question would be, can we make one motion to cover all four in the total of $5,400 and some odd dollars?
Okay.
Instead of reading
Do we
4 or
wanna
5 different
name
motions?
those 4 vendors maybe or something?
Okay.
Is that sufficient for Ryan?
That's, Angie, you tell me.
We can, let me just do a little copy in here.
We can go ahead and move on, and while she's correcting those 4, let's see, so we have,
Got your tractor?
yeah, the disposal motion for our tractor, this would be TR 21, that was, here a while back, I reported it had been laid over, and the insurance company actually totaled that out. There was some significant damage to it, just basically, where the split is on the tractor is leaking oil there, and then where it ripped all the, bolts out for the drawbar out of the transmission housing, and some other stuff that they wound up totaling it out, and so, they are actually paying back what we purchased that tractor for back in 2014. Minus our deductible, so it comes out to $72,402 they're paying back on that,
Minus the deductible,
minus a $2,500 deductible, yes.
basically getting $70,000 out of it.
Yeah.
What's that same tractor cost in today's dollars?
Oh,
Get up to,
twice that?
is it twice that?
Twice that, yeah, so I'm not for sure what we're gonna do there yet. We started looking at some used ones about the same year with, this one had 5,400 hours, and, seen a few out there around 1,000, 1,500 hour mark that you could get for a little more money than what we're getting back on it, so we're not for sure what we're gonna do yet. We may possibly look at replacing it with a used tractor of similar age.
Cause you only run them for what, up to 10,000 hours?
I think our highest hour tractors now are about 13,
13.
14, 15, so,
That might be the best way to look. You can find good using, similar to this one, similar hours.
right. Well, I know just if we could get a tractor here quicker, and we've got this amount of money, and, we've got a little money left in our equipment fund, so if we could find something to replace it, we may look at doing that.
Okay, motion 2023-63 based on recommendation of Road and Bridge Superintendent as formed to move to find that tractor TR 21 2014 case IH 125 VIN ending in 650 is no longer required and cannot freely be used for public purpose of Coffee County, and as such should be disposed of for sale. Notice of the board's intention to dispose of said property will be published on September 21st, 2023, and September 28th, 2023, of the official county newspaper.
Was that the one that was going to insurance company?
Yeah.
Should be disposed of to EMC Insurance. We need to fix that motion. We did the bill, or that correctly. Can I see that one again?
That motion would imply we're gonna auction it or something.
Right, yeah, I did read that.
I would think,
Put something in there, total, from accident total, the insurance, I don't know.
Yeah, we did have that.
Thought we had that in.
It was Okay, for the public purposes of Coffee County, if it was totaled out in an accident. Okay, and as such should be disposed of to the insurance in the amount of $32,402.
It did not change on mine.
I moved it.
Oh, I moved it.
Yeah, because it's,
Okay, we'll reread the motion. Based upon the recommendation of the Road and Bridge Superintendent as to find that tractor TR-21, 2014, case IH-125, VIN ending in 650 is no longer required, cannot prudently be used for public purpose of Coffee County, totaled out in an accident, and as such should be disposed of to EMC Insurance in the amount of $72,402. Notice of the board's intention to be disposed of said property will be published in September 21st, 2023, and September 28th, 2023, in the official county newspaper.
I so move.
Moved by Thompson, seconded by Curry. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay.
I've got the next one ready for the disposal.
About my return cards.
Yeah.
Motion based upon the recommendation of the Road and Bridge Superintendent as a form to find miscellaneous parts bought from Prairie Land Partners with a value of $2,226.58, and Berry Tractor with a value of $1,699.20, Fully Equipment with a value of $880.48, and Murphy Tractor with a value of $668.75 for a grand total of $5,475.01 are no longer required and cannot prudently be used for public purpose of Coffee County, and as such should be disposed of for credit. Notice of board's intention to dispose of said property will be published in September 21st, 2023, September 28th, 2023, in the official county newspaper. I will move.
I'll second.
Go ahead, Wade.
I'll second that.
Moved by Knight, seconded by Thompson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you.
Good job getting that stuff cleaned up, 'cause
Well, it's,
it's a job.
no, it is a job for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. No, Joel back at the shop did a great job on that stuff
Good.
there, so. Next, a couple landfill things. I've got a motion for on-call, agreement with Blackstone, which basically they're the engineer we utilize out there. We need to get a new agreement in place for 2023, and I know the previous agreements were for like $5,000, and I'm actually increasing this one up to $10,000. One thing extra I'm gonna be having them work on is I'm gonna have a airspace study done out there, and it just kinda helps with, estimating the lifespan of the landfill. And, you know, I know with the potential changes in the county, maybe some growth, that way you know, we have a model that you can plug numbers into, increases, and, you know, so you can have kind of some accurate information on how to plan for future stuff. But I'm just looking at increasing that a little bit to $10,000 for the 2023. So.
Does there need to be a dollar amount in this?
That's what I was gonna ask. That 10 probably needs to be in that motion.
Where at?
Motion 2023-61.
Would it be
Engineering
10 or
services.
up to 10, or what would it be?
Not to exceed
Yeah,
$10,000?
I would say up to 10, or not to exceed.
Not to exceed.
Okay. Our funds coming from Road and Bridge Department,
This would be solid waste,
or solid.
yeah.
Based upon the recommendation of the Road and Bridge Superintendent to authorize Director Chairman to sign agreement for engineering services by Blackstone for solid waste department not to exceed $10,000 funds to be paid from solid waste fund.
Also move.
Moved by Meach, seconded by McCurry. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, and I think my last one is gonna be a motion for fall cleanup. I mean, every year we designate a week for fall cleanup, so the dates we would like or need are October 16th through the 21st, which is the third week of October.
Based upon recommendation of Road and Bridge Superintendent to designate October 16th through the 21st, through October 21st, 2023 as fall cleanup week, and request the county clerk to publish same, notice of same in the paper. I guess.
I so move.
Second, moved by Thompson, seconded by Knight. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye, motion passes.
That's what I got.
That's all you got?
Yeah.
Well, that helps not having to read 5
No,
different motions
right.
stating the
Right.
same verbiage, just different numbers.
Right. I know you enjoy reading those off.
Thank you for redoing that.
It's a highlight.
Yeah. So, if you guys have anything else, that's what I got for this week.
The road closings. The minimum use.
Yeah.
I've done some driving around, and if there's any way we could get landowner on each side of that road, I would think it would be very beneficial if the same landowner owns both sides of the road, to get it back to the landowner. That way they can gate it and nobody can go down that road and tear it up. If they want to do work to it and make it nice so they can come in and out of the fields,
Right.
that would keep people from going in and tearing up the road
Right.
like that. But, I mean, if we don't, then the county's still liable to do something to it if the landowner needs something done to it.
No, I mean, that's right. If the road's open, then we still have responsibility of a certain amount of maintenance on those roads.
I drove down one last night that's got a big tree laying across it, and the weeds are about that high above the tree, above it, so somebody's gonna have a rude awakening
Right.
if they fly down that road.
Right.
But there's different landowners on each side.
Right.
Actually, there's 4 different landowners,
Right.
which is a tree station.
Well, I mean, so that's a good example right there of why, what we're trying to accomplish by signing the roads minimum maintenance. Now, if there's roads that landowners want, if they want to close a road down, that's, obviously, we encourage, yes, we would encourage that, to go through that process, and if it played out, it would be in our benefit of the county for that.
I understand where Jesse's coming from. It's kind of 2 different things, though, basically. If a landowner wants to try to get that road closed, then, correct me if I'm wrong, what you're trying to accomplish is here, we're not really gonna change the services that we provide. You're already doing minimum maintenance on these roads, basically, because of their use. You're wanting to get signage on them so that it lowers our liability.
I would say that's
the main
accurate on
purpose.
probably 85% of the roads. Now, there are some roads that we probably add some gravel to that we will not be adding gravel to, such as certain farm access roads right west side of Leroy off of 58. It doesn't make much sense to add gravel down if they're farming clear up to the very edge of the road and you can't even establish ditches through there. If it's dry enough to be in the fields, that road's gonna be dry enough to go on, and right now, there's certain times that there's a request for gravel, we look at it, and we have had gravel in the past. If it's a minimum maintenance road, then probably some of that we would back off on. But, yeah, we're already maintaining these roads, and that's not gonna change as far as, if they need bladed, we're gonna blade them.
Well, if you've got a low hole or something, then it might still take some
We
rock
have-
to fix that.
No, we have certain
because,
situations, we might have to haul in some base rock or something to fill in a bad spot, if it's just something that would never dry out or something like that,
Yeah,
but.
yeah. Sometimes you got a water hole, and if heavy trucks are trying to go in and out,
Right.
they don't go.
No, that's right,
very good.
that's right.
And the one, southeast of Waverly, that mile, 22nd to 23rd, you've got it marked green, and tell me again why.
So green, if you flip your map to the bottom side and read what green is, it should say
Signs.
sign minimum maintenance.
And it is, that's, I guess, I didn't see that.
Yeah, but I think that one's signed without a resolution, I believe.
I think that's what you said here
Is that-
2 weeks ago.
Is that what it was?
So I mean, the signs are up, but there's never
I was gonna say
been a
that.
Never
resolution.
been a resolution.
And that's a variable road all the way through.
That's a booger up there.
It is.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, if you sign a minimum maintenance, or you're still liable for the road.
You're liable for the road, but when somebody runs into that tree and totals out their truck, then, that's,
They've
I'm
had.
a lawyer, but if it's sign minimum maintenance, there's probably a certain amount of liability that should be taken off of us at that point.
I would say signage of no maintenance. Enter at your own risk.
I think it's a minimum maintenance standard.
I mean, that's what this,
That's kind of.
So what you're wanting to do, or what you're talking about is closing the road, and there's a whole procedure that the landowners have to go through, and we had one.
You have a hearing for that, don't you?
You have a hearing,
Yeah.
and there's a difference between, well, there's a whole process, and that process is sort of like a fence viewing type process, but Angie has the forms in her office where you fill that out, and then that initiates it, but they have to take several steps. Can be done. In fact, it's been done before.
I'm just thinking that pulls the county at 100% off of it. It puts it back in the landowner on each side of the road, if it's the same landowner. You wouldn't be able to have.
no, if they
more than
want to
one
close the road,
landowner.
that's accurate.
Then they can gate it, and that's their baby after
Right.
that. It takes us 150% out of it.
Right.
Right, that would be good in those cases.
Yeah.
But-
I mean, and it wouldn't be very many of those cases that would be that way, that landowner would be on both sides of the road you want to close, same landowner.
Right.
Yeah, I think
It
it'd
would
be
be a dead end road too.
You just talked about the roads going down to the river where there's a lot of minimum maintenance roads going down next to the river. There, one I talked to you about here 2 or 3 months ago, it's on Treefall Road, 2 miles south and back east a mile. You're gonna go all the way up around that river. I don't know whether that work's been done yet, or.
Well, it hasn't. It has not been done. We've been doing a lot of research and had the county surveyor, I've been Emporia involved in that, and we're finding out that I don't know that was actually ever an open road through there. So, with it not being an open road, we're still working on some information there and some research.
I knew you had.
I know there's been a portion of road there we've been maintaining and doing work on, but finding out that maybe that's not an open road, so just figuring out, the steps we need to correct that, and, there's some work that needs done there since they rebuilt that dike, because they took out part of that road.
And the dike's been rebuilt 3 times, so
Right.
I'm sure we're on landlord property now.
And no, that's a fact, and that's what, initially we were sparking the change, is we needed to change the right-of-way there, because the road keeps getting moved back because of the river work that they continue to repair there. But, yeah, it's kind of a unique one that we're still looking at it, but, until I get something resolved, if it's an open road or not,
When Crook Creek Bridge was still in there, everybody drove down that road from the city of Leroy. It had river gravel on it. The Wright family had a river gravel on it, but maybe it was never a road, I don't know.
Was that in horse and buggy days, Don, or?
No, it's back in tractor days.
Yeah.
In fact, there was a cutout on the river into the road, and Dennis Protz drove across that with his tractor and turned around and looked, and the whole road was gone for about 100 to 125 feet. It dropped down 10, 12 feet.
Right after he drove over it?
Right immediately after he drove over, he heard some noise, and didn't have a cab on, so you could hear things. Turned around and looked, and the road was all gone.
Wow.
That'd be a little shaky.
Did he go buy a lottery ticket after that?
A lot of them probably wouldn't even heard of it.
That happened back in 1960-something, I don't know
Wow.
exactly.
That's something.
It just dug all that sand out from underneath.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't all the ones they're down in my area where I live, I'm familiar with. I haven't had a chance to look at the ones that are up here,
Yeah.
that are in my district on the, east of 75. I guess my thought about this is, I don't see what we're harming if we minimum maintenance these roads, because these roads are getting minimum maintenance now.
Right.
If we agree that if there's a bad problem, that we're gonna deal with it.
Oh, that's right. I
If
mean,
the roads
that's,
aren't closed,
But
I mean,
that's-
I guess I support
but
it,
that's what you're
whether I
doing.
go
That's what-
look
that's-
or whether I don't.
that's currently what we're doing
Yeah,
all
I
these
mean,
roads
it-
anyway.
But I mean, with the assurance to our landowners that, hey, we're gonna blade it a couple times a year, and if there's a serious problem, we're gonna deal
Sure,
with
we have
it.
lots of times, especially hay season, that guys will contact us and say, hey, we need hay back here, this road's got severe rutting,
Yeah,
it's like, okay, well, yep, we'll go out there and we'll get it in shape so they can get done what they need
All the
done.
signage is going to do is just alleviate part of the liability.
so I'm just kinda trying to make that,
Yeah.
that's my thoughts on it, and that
Yes.
way it kind of brought what our intention is.
That is the intention right there, we're just addressing the liability issue of them not being.
I see no reason myself to hold back,
I
because
don't
that's what
either.
we're doing already,
Yeah, I don't either.
and eliminate
Because that's just like
some
on that,
liability.
that's just like on that mile stretch that I was talking about.
Yeah,
That is, but it's already got the minimum maintenance on it.
yeah.
And it's been like that for
Pretty
a
rough.
long time.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thoughts?
All right, thanks, guys.
You're on.
Thank you.
All right. It's 10 o'clock. Move to enter into public hearing at 10 a.m. for purpose of hearing and answering any objections related to the sale of land specifically owned by the county located at or near, at or near 19th Road Northwest and Highway 75, and north of the Coffee County Airport, containing 8 acres. Have we received any Oh, sorry.
I'll make some more. I'll second.
Moved by McCurry, seconded by Meats. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Now, I ask the county clerk if you received any protest petitions.
No, we have not.
There were no,
Are there any objections?
are there any objections from the public? No objections from the public. Move to close the public hearing at 10:01 a.m. and resume regular commission meeting. I will move.
I'll second that.
Moved by Knight, seconded by Thompson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes, public hearing. All right. Now we go to,
I'm verifying with Wade, we need to do that next resolution,
Yes.
so it'll be 9:12, that's what I believe.
fire away, Wade.
Do you need this?
I can do it. There you go.
Yep, nope, that's fine. So what you have before you is the motion associated with the public notice related to what I'll call the airport property that you'll hear from Mr. Serrano here shortly. You heard from him last week. To dispose of that property under KSA 19-211B, which encompasses Coffee County Resolution 2023-900, you have to go through this process.
Do we want Mr. Hugoton on the phone?
I think it would be beneficial because the wording in the resolution has a unanimous decision by the board, and if you're disposing of property, I think it's helpful in my opinion.
I did confirm with him he is available, so I will fire him. Sorry for interrupting, we both forgot. Good morning, Tom. You're in the commission chambers. We are starting our 10 o'clock resolution, 912, and this is part of it that takes unanimous vote from the commission board for disposal of property. Are you available?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Wade is,
Can I move
Yep.
the phone?
Wade's taking the telephone. In fact, you just have it for the rest.
Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, sir.
I don't know if I want it for the rest of the morning. So what's before you is a resolution declaring that certain surplus property owned by Coffee County is no longer usable for its intended purpose and cannot be prudently used for public purposes of the county, and authorizing the sale of said property. So that property, just to catch you up, Tom, property located at or in the vicinity of 19th Road Northwest and US Highway 75 and north of the Coffee County Airport. It contains 8 acres. So within the resolution, it captures several different features, but one of them, if you recall, Tom, the Resolution 2023-900 that sets forth the methodology for disposing of surplus property owned by the county, which is authorized by KSA 19211B. And then under KSA 19101, the county Board of Commissioners has the ability to transact all business for the county, including the selling and conveying of any real estate owned by the county. As a part of this resolution, the board will determine that the sale and disposal of this particular property will provide a significant economic benefit to the county, will protect the public interest, and attempt to maximize a long-term economic return related to the sale and disposition of the property, specific to the immediate surrounding areas and the state of Kansas overall. It's anticipated the board will be entering into a development agreement with Secure Semiconductor Manufacturing, SSM, which will occur immediately following or adjacent to this particular motion. And the development agreement indicates that SSM desires to design, develop, and construct one or more new industrial facilities on the property and within the formation of a community improvement district that encompasses this specific property. That we just had a public hearing, which public hearing was provided for by notice through the legal paper for the county, the Coffee County Republican, and as published on the county website, both in accordance with Coffee County Resolution 2023-900, that the board will declare through this resolution that the county has the authority to dispose of the property, and under the resolution I just mentioned, that the board has determined previously in an open session and will do so today by a majority vote that it's in the best interest of the county to sell the property for a fixed price of $4,000 per acre to SSM as the method of sale most beneficial to the county for a total of $32,000. That upon the board voting, that SSM or its designee will have 14 days to tender to Coffee County the purchase price of $32,000 in cash or certified funds. That upon the tender of funds in the amount of $32,000, the chairman of the board will be authorized and directed to execute a special warranty deed conveying the property to SSM. After recording the special warranty deed, the county will deliver that deed to SSM or its designee. That the proceeds of the sale, less the payment of any premium for title insurance, will be credited to the county general fund, and that all of the above took place in accordance with Coffee County Resolution 2023-900. and KSA 19-211B. And Tom, that's just the nitty-gritty of the resolution, and here's the motion, which I will read verbatim. Motion to approve Resolution 2023-912, a resolution declaring that certain real estate owned by Coffee County is no longer usable for its intended purpose and cannot prudently be used for public purposes of the county, and authorizing the sale of said property, specifically property owned by the county located at or in the vicinity of 19th Road Northwest and US Highway 75 and north of the Coffee County Airport, containing 8 acres, and authorizing the sale of said property to Secure Semiconductor Manufacturing, LLC of Hazard, Kentucky, for a fixed price of $4,000 per acre for a total of $32,000, with a determination by the board that the property sale and disposal of said property will provide a significant economic benefit to the county, will protect the public interest, and attempt to maximize the long-term economic return related to the sale and disposition of said property. That's the motion in its entirety.
On discussing these 2 pages, the resolution 2023 was 900 even, and now the motion says 912. Is it 900 or 912?
900 for the disposal of it.
That 900 is the methodology of disposal that the county has taken when you're disposing of property. So it's a different resolution, but it's incorporated into this, giving the board the authority to do what it's doing.
I will move the motion that was read by Wade Bowie, Resolution 2023-912A. I will move.
I second that.
Moved by Knight, seconded by Thompson. Any further discussion on resolution? Hearing no discussion, signify. Vote for all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes.
5-0, right?
5-0.
So that takes care of that. The only issue will be, and Joe will talk about it, the special warranty deed, and how that will play out. I think, and Joe could correct me if I'm wrong, the direction will likely be to sign the special warranty deed, and then it can be held in escrow or by Joe until those funds are received. But it won't be turned over to SSM until the money is
In hand. Or can we let Tom go, or does he need to stay through this?
Do you want Tom?
We do not need unanimous vote on these other matters.
Okay. His signature.
We'll have to get a signature when he gets back on that resolution, right?
Tom, do you have anything else that's not? I think you can go back to fishing or whatever it is you're doing.
Okay. No, I don't have anything. We discussed it quite thoroughly last week, I believe, and I fully understand everything that's happening and agree with all of it, so,
Thank you, Tom.
Stay until,
thank you.
I hate to do a break on that, because all this stuff kind of goes in together, doesn't it? I hate going on a break, it's just gonna, is everybody fine with not doing a break?
I'm good.
You good? As long as everybody's good. You good?
I'm not.
Joe Serrano, come on up, sir. You're the next contestant.
All right, good morning.
How you doing?
Wonderful. How's everybody doing this morning?
Good.
It's my pleasure to be here this morning, as we talked about last week. So first of all, for the record, Joe Serrano, Q-Tech Rock, Special Counsel, Bond Counsel to the county. It's my pleasure. It's been a kind of a grueling process to get where we are today. I appreciate your patience. As we discussed last week, For consideration are several items, but I want to focus real quickly on what Mr. Bowie was saying about the special warranty deed and the development agreement, some of the particulars associated with each of those, and then the 4 action items that are requested today. In terms of the special warranty deed, that is correct. I must report that we did receive the signature page on the development agreement from the developer, so they're in agreement with the development agreement. We'll talk a little bit about those particulars. When we do close, and we have a requirement to close within 14 days, monies of $32,000 minus the premium on the insurance will be deposited into the general fund. In terms of the particulars associated with the development agreement, I did want to highlight a few, if I may, because we talked about them last week. I just want to make certain that it's on the record. We're talking about them a second time because there are a couple things that are of importance, and I do want to make one comment associated with the exposure to the county. In terms of the development agreement is between the county and a secured semiconductor manufacturing LLC, Kentucky Limited Liability Company. This is the contract that will effectively bind the county and bind the developer, SSM, for the development of this facility at the airport. The particulars that are associated with this, it really highlights about 3 items, or 4 items. The first thing is the county is in this development agreement and the documents that will follow will be issuing community improvement, taxable community improvement general obligation bonds, or 2 series of bonds, one in the amount of $2 million, one in the amount of $1.5 million. The component of that $3.5 million in the aggregate is only a component of an overall financing. The overall financing includes CDBG grant, a CDBG loan, and 2 other loans, a USD B&I loan and a Red Lake loan. So it's only a component. What we've built in here, and I want to make certain that you understand that the conditions for us to issue, for the county to issue bonds, are subject to a few things. One of the things that I've listed in here, and the main thing is the developer has secured the USDA loan and the Red Lake loan, and such loans have closed. The reason why I point that out is because we can issue debts, these bonds, but we are going to make certain that those loans are closed because we don't want to get out there and issue debt and then not have a full financing of this project. The other thing is that we're not going to process eligible expenditures unless and until, the loans have closed, and we will give them $500,000 of loan proceeds after the loans have closed, of the bond proceeds after the loans have closed. However, after $500,000, every dollar that is spent from a loan, we will release $1 from the bond proceeds. So we're not going to get too far out. And the reason why it's important is because we don't want to have a failed financing, a failed project. And so we want to make certain that there's enough leverage points that are available that are out there to make certain that the developer does what he's promising in his development agreement. The second thing that I want to make mention is we're going to do infrastructure improvements. The infrastructure improvements will be that if they will finance of the bond proceeds $750,000 or any other source. It could be the CDBG grant and loan. But they'll finance $750,000 of the right-of-way infrastructure improvements. Anything over that $750,000, the county will come out of pocket for about $500,000. The item that is a little bit unique in this situation is what we call an economic development assistance. That is for a $300,000. Effectively, it's an economic development loan, but it's not through the economic development fund. What we're doing is we're pledging the economic development fund to backstop that loan. So there's a $300,000 loan from Citizens State Bank with the collateral being basically a guarantee from the county for and utilizing for cash basis purposes the economic development fund as the collateral. So that's the nuts and bolts of the development agreement. we talked about this again last week. I'm happy to answer any questions, and we'll talk about, the last item that I want to mention is, while the 2 series of bonds that are out there, as I mentioned last week, it's contemplated that the developer will qualify and apply for a federal tax credit. So the federal tax credit in about $1.5 million. Actually, it may be even more than that, but it's for $1.5 million. Once they complete the facility, they should be able to get at least $1.5 million of federal tax credit, and it's required that they use those monies to pay down the debt. The final thing that I want to mention associated with the bonds is these are special assessment bonds. So what we kind of call them is a double barrel. A double barrel meaning the first repayment of these bonds is a special assessment levied against the property. The special assessment is not a tax. It's over that. It's a special assessment on the property that runs, it's a covenant that runs with the land. And any owner of that has an obligation to pay that debt for 20 years until the debt's paid off. So once we convey the property to the developer, we will impose, and there's a resolution, we'll talk a little bit about that, but there's a resolution that will impose a special assessment against the property for $3.5 million. In 3 years or 2 years, whenever the tax credits come in, then at least $1.5 million will be used to pay down what we call the B series bonds, which is sized at $1.5 million. If there's anything more than that comes in of that tax credit, it's contemplated, and the developers represented that they will utilize that tax credits to pay down that $2 million bond as best they possibly can. Anything that remains is going to be a special assessment. We'll have to come and respread the specials, and then they will pay that amount over a period of 20 years. And they can pay it off anytime earlier if they want. The bonds will be privately placed with Citizen State Bank, a local lender, and that is basically the structure that we have. The items that I hadn't completed last week, we had a few open items I wanted to highlight. One of them was the overall total project cost. It's a little bit over $20 million. It was an open item. Garrett's going to come up and talk a little bit about the CDBG grant and loan. There's the reason why it's going to be changed a little bit as to the project cost is because we don't have to finance for the CDBG some of the other project costs that are associated with our financing. But overall, it's about a $20 million deal. We got the project budget. We pushed out the completion date until the end of 2024, just in case there are any overrides or delays, excusable delays. We thought, we're going to be able to do so. We feel pretty good about this financing. At least I do. I can tell you that the $300,000 amount's a little bit unusual for me, but we anticipate that will be a temporary backstop, that once the bonds are issued, that we will utilize bond proceeds to pay off that line of credit. Which means that any draws on that line of credit actually have to be eligible expenditures and basically project costs that are associated with this project. Can't be really operational costs. It has to be eligible expenditures in the statute. And those are really just project costs. It could be land acquisition, it could be road improvements, it could be sidewalks, it could be vertical construction, but it cannot be used for paying payroll. So we'll process that with Richard. We'll make certain that those eligible expenditures qualify under the Act, because once we issue those debts and reimburse and pay off that line of credit, it has to be eligible expenditures in order for it to meet muster with the state law. So that is the terms of the development agreement. I'm happy to answer any questions before we talk about the action items that are before you this morning.
What's the interest on bonds right now?
The bonds right now are the loan.
Or the loan, yeah.
Well, we have not, the bonds it's capped at 7%. It's right at 6.95% based on what the last sizing was, but in the development agreement, we capped it at 7%. Understand, these are taxable bonds. These are not tax exempt bonds, so we don't get the benefit of the interest rate cut because they're taxable. But it's capped in the development agreement at 7%.
So then Richard will be responsible for okaying the payments out of that, how's he gonna acquire all the information he needs to determine, I mean, he's gonna have guidelines?
Yes. There's a requisition, in this development agreement, it's Exhibit G, and that was only one of the conditions to issue debt, was to make sure that the loans are closed, but there are also a few conditions that are included in order for Richard to, effectively approve any kind of, whether it's a draw on the line of credit or it's a draw on the, project fund where the bond proceeds will be sitting.
But I'm not questioning Richard's ability, I'm just so how everybody knows what we're supposed to do here, that's all I'm at.
Yeah, so any kind of, expenditure needs to be qualified, and it needs to comply with the terms of the development agreement. The main terms of the development agreement is the developer is not in default in any condition of the default of this development agreement. And secondly, that they're eligible expenditures. So once they submit a requisition, they will, hopefully Richard and I will work together to say, yeah, this is a qualified expenditure, go ahead and process that. And making certain, because my name is also on these bonds.
With your help.
Yeah, my name was on these bonds also, and I'm I'm writing an opinion that these bonds are validly issued. So we want to make certain that the use of those bond proceeds are appropriate.
Okay.
Well, and it could be also, the bank could also have a trigger as well if it meets the required line item to have the money withdrawn, then they withdraw the money, or transfer the money. I mean, there's kind of like a three-step check,
That's right.
Before the money actually zips out.
Well, Citizen State Bank wants to make certain that the financing gets completed as much as anybody, because they're not only buying the bonds, but also offering a line of credit. So they want to make certain that that project is completed and we're not sitting on dirt, even though there's a special assessment that's pledged, that's going to be paid, and it's going to be due obligation to the developer to make those special assessments. And the question then becomes and I always have to look in the worst case scenario, is if the project doesn't go forward for whatever reason, then what do we get? What does the county get back? And the county effectively, through a series of processes, basically a foreclosure, would get back the land. But the land is only being sold for $32,000, and we've got $3.5 million of debt sitting out there. So the question then becomes is we don't release that $3.5 million until we know that project is going vertical. So we're trying to have these checks and balances to make certain that we're not the county's exposure, because it is a general obligation. It's a full faith and credit of the county, is not too far out in front of the full financing. That's the check and balance that we try to put into the development agreement.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the worst case scenario would be a partially finished structure that doesn't have real value yet. Significant value, that would be the worst case scenario for everyone involved.
And we've had a deal sitting up in Kansas City, it's in the news, this guy out of New York has a partially built facility, and it's really a problem. It's a problem child. Fortunately, I'm not on that deal, but it's in the news quite a bit.
Right.
But we try to build in enough check and balance in the development agreement that everybody knows that we're not going to be too far out in front. Now, when I talk about the exposure, and I mentioned, last time it's about $1 million, and Mr. Barnes.
You said,
Yeah.
can I ask a question here 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and it looked like the exposure to the county was going to a max of $1 million.
Yeah, and Mr. Varnberg came in and said, yeah, the cost of issuance was not that much because he's not charging a fee on that. He's charging a fee on the loan, but he's not charging a fee on the bonds. So the exposure on that, when I said it was about a $200,000 amount, when I looked at cost of issuance, is about $85,000 based on the numbers that Mr. Varnberg had for us. So, but we still are exposed to the $500,000 that can be released early. We're still exposed to the $300,000 loan, and then about an $85,000 amount associated with cost of issuance that if the project's failed, then we're not getting that money back.
Right.
I got a question that just popped into my head just a little bit ago. Is there anything that SSM has to do on the state of Kansas level to operate a Kentucky LLC business in the state of Kansas? Have they jumped through all those hoops?
They have to qualify to do business in the
Do business
state.
state of
They have to
Kansas.
qualify to do business in the state.
It's kind of like shutting the gate after the horse got out, it just popped in my head. I was
Yeah.
like, God, I hope we didn't overlook that.
It's not too problematic to file that with the state. I mean, but we checked on it, they are, qualified to do business in the state of Kentucky, and then they have to, they're incorporated or organized in the state of Kentucky, they just need to file the paperwork to do so.
They haven't filed the paperwork yet.
I don't believe they have, and we can convey the property to them as an out-of-state, entity, but in order for them to actually get any of the bond proceeds, they need to be qualified to do business in the state of Kentucky.
I would figure that would be a main reason for doing that is to get the bonds,
Exactly,
you know,
yes,
because most of it's state of Kansas.
exactly,
Funds.
that's right.
Okay.
Other questions associated with the development agreement? Okay, so for consideration are 4 resolutions, and I'm going to highlight the resolutions, but there are other documents that are included in the packet, and I'm going to provide the packet to Angie if I may, and you could have it signed in due course, but I do need one of these because I drafted a new resolution and I didn't print it. It's in the packet. So the first resolution, and I'd like to highlight them all if I may, and then we could take them one at a time. But the first resolution is a resolution of Coffee County, Kansas, approving the execution and delivery of a development agreement for an economic development project, SSM project. Once the development agreement is approved, assuming it is approved this morning, we will then have signature pages from both the developer and the county that will bind both parties. At that point, we'll circulate, and then the developer can then go out and secure the line of credit, which I think he needs some operational expenses, but he needs some access to funds. Yeah, right away. So that's that first resolution. The next resolution is a resolution levying the special assessments, and let me read that. I meant to say, that resolution approving the development agreement also authorizes the chairman to execute documents in connection therewith the development agreement. Everything that we're talking about is effectively in connection with the development agreement. So the resolutions are signed up for everybody to approve. However, the authority is really for the chairman to sign a special warranty deed, to sign other documents that are necessary for this financing. The second resolution is a resolution levying assessments on a lot or parcel of ground for the purpose of paying the cost of a portion of the construction of a community improvement district project in Coffee County, Kansas, or repaying community improvement district bonds, SSM project. This is the document after we finish. This would be the document that actually levies the special assessments. It will go to the county recorder's office, and this will be of record, and we will then make certain that there's a $3.5 million levy. The levy will not go in place. It will go in place starting next year, because we're too late to get it on the tax rolls this year. The levy will go in place next year. The first payment will be due and payable on December 20th. As we know, property taxes in Kansas are segregated, half on December 20th, half on May 10th. And so the first payment will come in on December 20th, and then the first payment on the bonds will be March of 2025. That is the resolution levying the special assessments. And then we have 2 correlated resolutions. The resolutions are associated with the actual authorization in what we call prescribing the form of the bonds. So there are 2 resolutions, a resolution authorizing the issuance and delivery of a $2 million principal amount of a taxable community improvement district general obligation bond, Series 2023A of Coffee County, Kansas, authorizing and approving the execution of certain documents and approving certain other actions in connection with the issuance of said bonds, SSM CID project. And the correlated deal is the same thing. It's a resolution authorizing the issuance of delivery of a $1.5 million principal amount of taxable community improvement district general obligation bond, Series 2023B of Coffee County, Kansas, authorizing and approving the execution of certain documents and approving certain other actions in connection with the issuance of said bonds. These documents effectively, as we say, they authorize the issuance of the bonds and they prescribe the form. Basically, it's a typical, what we say, just a authorizing resolution. It sets up the findings in and of itself. It's very standard as to how we do this. Sometimes we put it in a trust indenture. This one we're doing it in a form of a resolution. And effectively, it sets up a cost of issuance fund. Both of these set up a cost of issuance fund and a project fund. The cost of issuance fund will be depleted at the time that we issue bonds. The project fund, along the lines with a line of credit, will be used. It will be like a draw on that project fund as in accordance with the development agreement. So that is where we are today, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, we'll start maybe on the first resolution.
Any questions?
Not that I'm aware of.
Any questions?
You were gonna mention special warranty.
Yeah, okay.
Is there a reason why we can't add it this year? We haven't set the tax roll yet.
Well, the issue is, we have not financed capitalized interest. We have not put in the numbers capitalized interest. And Greg Barnberg is your municipal advisor. He said it, and typically you have to get those set by end of August. So we kind of purposely pushed it off so that we would not go until they would, if we set it this year, then they would be making a debt service payment or a special assessment payment, the debt service bonds in 2023 when the project has been started.
Right. So are we doing 19 years instead of 20?
It's 20 years. It's 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah. The law is, if you look at the act, it says that it shall be 20 equal annual installments. But the first year is when you approve this resolution, but unless it's too late to get it on the tax rolls. And so, yeah, I mean, so it's 20 equal annual, and that's why we'll have to come back and resize the bonds once we pay off that $1.5 million. In terms of the special warranty deed, the special warranty deed, as mentioned, we will hold that in escrow, or we'll give it to Angie to hold in escrow until those funds come in. Once we effectively close on that land acquisition, at which point we will record that deed, of course, with the county. Anything else I need to mention? Wait. Okay.
I think you covered the majority of what the mechanics last week, so I don't think there's anything new.
Okay.
So the first one's,
Yeah, do you want me to read it?
which
Third is there was motion 915, 914,
we got 13.
916.
Oh, I missed one.
Well, those are resolution numbers.
I mean resolutions, I'm sorry, but I don't see a 15.
Yeah.
That's the reason I'm asking.
Got it.
It come in.
So start with,
913.
delivery of a development agreement.
That's right.
That resolution?
Yes, you want me to read it? Just go ahead.
I got the numbers.
Okay,
here,
got it. That's great.
Motion to adopt resolution number 2023-913, a resolution of Coffee County, Kansas, approving the execution, now you're moving stuff around, and delivery of the development agreement for an economic development project, SSM project.
Oh, also,
All second. Moved by Meeks, seconded by Knight. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye, motion passes.
Is the next one the development agreement secure semiconductor?
That was the one we just did. The one is a resolution levying special assessments on a lot of parcels now. 914.
Jump one paragraph.
Oh, okay, so do not do the development agreement yet.
Did we just not do 20?
We did the resolution, but we didn't do the direct the chairman to execute a development agreement, secure semiconductor.
You could do that. I mean, it's included, it's embedded in that resolution, but please do so.
Okay.
Move to authorize direct the chairman to execute a development agreement, secure semiconductor manufacturing.
Should it be with secure semiconductor?
Yes.
Move to authorize direct the chairman to sign documents. Right?
Yeah.
Move to authorize direct the chairman to
You
sign.
want signed documents instead of execute?
That's fine.
Yeah, sign documents, yeah. All right, next motion, here it is. Move to authorize direct the chairman to sign documents of development agreement with Secure Semiconductor Manufacturing, also known as SSM.
I'll move.
I'll second that.
Moved by McCurry, seconded by Thompson. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Okay, the next one. Move to adopt resolution number 2023-914, a resolution levying assessments on a lot or parcel of ground for the purpose of paying the cost of a portion of the construction of the Community Improvement District project in Coffee County, Kansas, or repaying Community Improvement District bonds, SSM CID project. We look.
I'll second.
Moved by Knight, seconded by McCurry. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Now, do you want to execute? Okay.
Yes, this is
Or
great.
sign a special warranty deed? How do you want to say that?
That, if I haven't read it yet. Moved to authorize direct the chairman to execute signing of special warranty deed to Secure Semiconductor Manufacturing LLC in relation to the SSM CID project. Sound good?
Yes. So move.
I'll second.
Moved by Thompson, seconded by Meats. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. There's a lot of motions today.
We're four more.
Can we just bunch them all
four
together?
more.
Like we did, Ryan? Yeah, sure. Move to adopt resolution number 915, a resolution authorizing the issuance and delivery of $2 million principal amount of taxable Community Improvement District General Obligation Bonds, Series 2023A of Coffee County, Kansas, authorizing and approving the execution of certain documents and approving certain other actions in connection with the issuance of said bonds, SSM CID project.
Also move. I'll second.
Moved by Meats, seconded by McCurry. Any discussion? If the words get any bigger, somebody else will have to read them. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. All right, here we go again. Motion to adopt resolution number 916, a resolution authorizing the issuance and delivery of $1.5 million principal amount of taxable Community Improvement District General Obligation Bonds, Series 2023B of Coffee County, Kansas, authorizing and approving the execution of certain documents and approving certain other actions in connection with the issuance of said bonds, SSM CID project.
I'll move.
I'll second that.
Moved by McCurry, seconded by Thompson. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
May I interject, Mr. Chairman? The two other motions, we have approved other certain documents. They're not required to make the record because the other documents, which is the paying agent agreement and investment and disbursement agreement, are included associated with the others. You're happy to make those motions if you should choose, but it's not required, at least from my perspective.
Good with that, Wade?
They're incorporated into
Previous.
everything else, so.
Okay. So we'll delete the other 3, I guess, actually.
And maybe since, just so they've been brought up, the paying agent agreement is sort of what you talked about, who's gonna be responsible for monitoring the expenditures?
Yeah, there are two ancillary documents that are associated with it, and then there will be some closing documents for the county and the developer. The 2 documents that are required, one is an investment and disbursement agreement. When the bonds are sold, the monies will go into basically the county treasurer. What we delegated that to SSM. It's going in, we set up accounts, a project fund, and a cost of issuance fund. We're going to then send the monies over to Citizen State Bank, who's going to buy the bonds. They will put the monies in a cost of issuance fund and a project fund. The cost of issuance fund, as mentioned, those monies will be depleted right away at the time that we close the bonds. The project fund, the reason why we call it an investment and disbursement agreement is that those monies can be sitting there, depending on where we are at any given time. They could be sitting in there for, 8 months. So we will give direction to Citizen State Bank as to how to invest those. They have to be relatively liquid because we need to get the money out on a routine basis. That's the investment side of it. A disbursement side of it is what we talked about with Richard, is to approving those disbursements. And the disbursements will be, through a requisition, making certain they're eligible expenditures that we will review and then send over to Citizen State Bank, who will then accept that requisition and make disbursements to the developer. So that's one document, it's investment and disbursement agreement. The second document is a paying agent agreement. The paying agent agreement provides that when the special assessments, when SSM makes the payment of their special assessments to the county will then direct it over to Citizen State Bank, who will then accept those monies as a fiduciary for the county and then pay themselves as the bond owner. So a paying agent agreement is they act as paying agent agreement to receive the monies from the county and pay themselves. It's typically, we have it set up where a state treasurer serves as a paying agent under these deals. But in this instance, because it's kind of a feel-good home, and Citizen State Bank agrees to do it, the monies will come in and effectively they're paying themselves. But we need something in there in the interim to say that there is a paying agent because it's required under state law. So in this instance, in lieu of this, the state treasurer being the paying agent, we just use, and it does it all the time. And when we have private placements, the buyer, the local lender will serve as a paying agent. So those are the 2 documents. They're a little bit different. One is kind of on the front end with the investment and disbursement. The other is on the back end, is when the money's come in, we're debt servicing. So those are those 2 documents. Mr. Booth, anything else?
That covers it.
So we as a county, we don't have to set up any special accounts for any funds?
You could set up on the books. You should set up, and I'll talk with Richard, but you should set up on the books 3 accounts. One is project fund, one is cost of issuance, and one is debt service. But monies, technically, you're supposed to flow through and direct them. I mean, we just have to account for them. Yeah, we receive the special assessments, and then we remitted it over to the Citizen State Bank, who's actually the paying agent, and then will pay themselves. So 3 separate, I would say, book entries, if you will, but 3 separate accounts should be established for the SSM CID project. And I'm happy to help with those, but it's a project fund, cost of issuance fund, and a debt service fund.
Debt service?
Debt service fund, yeah. And I'm...
Just set up one the other day.
Can't we put all 3 underneath the one? Because that's where the money's gonna go into.
Yeah,
Yeah, you could have a fund and then account.
line items, yeah.
I'm going to provide to you this. I don't need anything particular except probably the development agreement, but this is the document. These documents are set up for signatures on the resolutions and for the documents that we just approved. This will take a little bit of time, so I don't really need anything except a PDF of the development agreement later today. And then we could give it over to Bart Massey so that he can work with Walker to set up that line of credit. That is all I have. I really want to tell you thank you for allowing me to discuss this complicated financing. I appreciate your patience with this. Gary's going to come up, I think, on the next item, but I just want to thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next time we'll serve popcorn.
Sounds good.
Come on up, Garrett.
Thank you. Everyone, I'm Garrett Northwood, Governmental Assistance Services. I have a very uncomplicated resolution for you.
Yay.
This resolution is intended to give notice to the Department of Commerce that Coffee County has the authority to apply for a 2023 Community Development Block Grant from the Kansas Department of Commerce, and it authorizes the Commissioner and Chairman to sign such applications. You'll see on the document that's in front of you, it was locked, and so you see a lot of city, county. That is something that goes into CDBG without edit. And so,
I don't know that we have those documents here. Hold on a second. Was it in last week's?
No, it was in this week. I know I was having trouble with the Google form.
Is it in this new packet that you?
Hold on, just a second. I may not have printed that one off, but I can get it here in just 2 seconds. Sorry, Garrett.
it's okay. I have another one if you want to make a copy.
I got it printing out right now.
We killed a lot of trees, that's all I know.
I know.
I might just explain that the CDBG Community Development Block Grant is going to give us $750,000 to help offset the cost of the public infrastructure. So that's going to be basically what we're budgeting for the project, access road, and all the money will go to that. Of that $750,000, $375,000 will be repaid to the Department of Commerce through a special assessment that we will take care of once they've issued the grant application or the grant money, and that'll be paid back to the Department of Commerce at 0% over the next 10 years.
What about the other $375,000?
It is a grant.
It is that, it is a grant.
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal. It's based on job creation, and they grant half that 50% on infrastructure.
Now we've got it here, sir.
Yeah, here it is. So this is just a resolution certifying legal authority to apply for the Kansas Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program from the Kansas Department of Commerce. And it just says that the Coffee County, Kansas is a legal governmental entity and has the authority to apply for this assistance. It goes down and gives the, like Joe's resolutions, gives the Commissioner of Coffee County, as the official representative, the authority to sign and submit the application. The application is in the process and should be pretty much ready within the next week. We'll have a couple more pieces of paper to sign for that. The portion here that is a bit confusing, that has been, applicant hereby dedicates $11,133,075 in matching funds for the project. And so the Community Development Block Grant Program makes us match money with this. And so that other $11 million is going to be for the vertical construction, it's going to be for the utilities, it's going to be for the equipment in their building. So this is, there's no way to change this here, but when it says that the applicant hereby dedicates that money in cash funds towards the project, it really means that SSM will dedicate that cash to the project, which is going to be part of the B&I loan, the Red Leg loan, and the bonds as well. We have broken down a budget that allows us to budget the vertical construction of the building, the infrastructure of the building, and also the equipment they're going to put into the building. So you've heard we talked about this last time I was here, you've heard $20 million project, $20 million project, and that is the cost of the project. But the CDBG grant allows us to pull some of those costs out of there so we can build the building, build the road, put the equipment in there, and close the grant out. And we figure we're going to be in right about $11,833,075. There'll be.
We are not the applicant?
Coffee County is the applicant, yes.
But it's not our $11 million.
Hereby dedicate.
Yeah, there's.
I know.
Yeah.
In the grant application, what we're going to do is put together a grant application. It's going to have all their financials. It's going to have the letters from the BNI, the Red Leg, the Magnolia Bank. We're going to have their letter of credit. We're also going to have their project costs. So we're going to break them out. We're going to have in the grant application, it's going to specify what the costs are. So the county, in fact, through the Community Development Block Grant Program, is what we call the responsible entity, or the applicant. County will apply for this grant and loan on behalf of SSM. They will be, once the grant is awarded, they're going to come in with some paperwork that we're going to execute with SSM and with the county. And that will be a repayment agreement and a performance agreement. And in that documentation at that time, we will specify that it is SSM's responsibility to pay back the $375,000 over 10 years at 0%. So until we're actually awarded this and we execute the grant agreement, the repayment agreement, then the county is not bound by the CDBG grant. So by signing this authority to apply, just gives the county, we can go ahead and submit the grant application. There is doesn't bound the county at all until we actually award the grant again and go back in and sign those agreements.
Okay. Just wanted to have that explained a little bit. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This sounds like something 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, we had something very similar to that we didn't think was written out quite correctly, but the way it was explained, it was, although it's hard to understand a lot of it too.
The CDBG program locks their forms down. There's standard forms for every grant that go in, and some tend to be less applicable or seem to need a little bit more explanation in them, but they don't. But
To me, they could be better written, but
Apparently that's what it takes. We're the applicant.
that's right. We call it the responsible entity or the applicant. But they make, with this type of thing with private industry and private business, they go to take a few extra steps to make sure that business is committed contractually.
And the bank letter of credit, you said the bank letter of credit is on what bank?
Magnolia Bank.
Magnolia.
So that's what that BNI loan.
Right.
So what we're going to do is we're going to compile each separate funding entity, and the Department of Commerce is going to want to see each commitment letter from the BNI, the Red Lake, from everybody's going to get their letter's going to go in this application as committed matching funds is what we call it.
this $750,000 grant, does Angie need to set up a specific account for that also?
So
So
no,
that it's for the auditor clerk, we get our report on easier.
yeah, so I would say it's not required to do that. Just the bank accounts that you were discussing earlier will do. We track pretty closely when we will contract with SSM to serve as the administrator on the project, and every time they need money for this road improvement basically only, we will pull down that portion of the pay application monthly, and we will keep pretty close track of that money. That will hit the county's account, and then the county will work on a way to pay that out to the contractor, whomever that is.
So this is a standard form then? So like at the top where it says authorizing the mayor, that can't be changed to commissioner?
We can change that. We just couldn't unlock it.
Oh, okay. Well, I I just did something, but I got it unlocked.
You did.
I did. Honestly. I used.
Don't know if it was legal or not, but she.
Yeah. You want to see here?
It's,
Okay, it's okay if I change that to
the chairman.
Chairman.
There is the CDBG forms have a password in them, and I've been trying to guess their password for
Yeah, if we've got to get.
15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, 700 times.
You go, Andy.
Wildcat 1, Wildcat 1, question mark.
Mercy, mercy. We're all going to jail. At least we know the sheriff.
Yep.
So,
Okay,
this
so,
is resolution 215.
no, it'd be, 2023. We'll do that. 917.
917. Okay. Move to,
Mark should already know.
okay. Move to adopt resolution number 2023-917, a resolution clarifying legal authority to apply for Kansas Small City Community Development Block Grant Program from the Kansas Department of Transportation and authorize director chairman to sign and submit such application.
You move.
I didn't move, nobody's moved yet.
I'll move it.
Moved by McCurry,
I'll second.
seconded by Meats. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Has that also approved? No, that's fine. Do you want a copy of that resolution, or do you need it? Okay.
I don't know how, but yeah.
I thought we were like, oh, it's going slow.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, she must have allowed us enough time anyhow.
Yeah, I knew there was gonna be some, I need to take a quick break for just a second. We wanna take a quick break now? Or do we need to sign that stuff? We can sign that stuff after we get back, right? We're gonna take a quick break till 11.
Yes, sir. Very good.
10-minute break. So, if we could move you up, that would be great. If not, let us know.
I'll walk down and see if I can get hold of Darren, see if he wants to be here. If not, then save it and I'll step out.
Okay. That'll work. We'll go ahead and start signing some stuff.
Give me about 5 to 10 minutes.
Got plenty of time.
Thank you.
So we're good?
I'm out.
For now, we might call him up
Okay, okay.
here within the hour.
Okay, and I know too, just as I'm here, if you want a quick update, I can give you that while I'm gone. I'm here for a while.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, sir. Thanks. I'm gonna fire this that way,
Okay.
as I sign the chairs.
Maybe I've got some more quick for you.
Okay, just make a little pile there and I'll do that.
All right.
We got a generator, I guess.
you don't wanna be like, put a town east or town west and Wichita's got their lights shut off.
Oh, really?
Got them shut off, and then, I don't know, it was the next morning or 2 or 3 mornings later, they were turned back on, so they didn't have to pay their bill.
That could be a little expensive for some of their renters, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think. It might have been the next morning when they were turned back, but
That's not very good.
what's one corner making it work?
All the way from 30 to 80,
30 to what?
30 to 80. I mean, it's all kinds, it depends on.
Okay, are
Really
you ready to start signing?
time of planning.
Yes, I guess.
The policies and stuff is doing.
I can't believe how the beans have hung on. These genetics are just,
Oh,
I always compare it to like what happened in 1980.
Do we need to
Like,
put the
like 10
resolution number
days,
on
the
that?
leaves were falling off.
no, there were, in 1980, we saw a lot of
Development
too. We saw beans at
9:15.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I remember just, we were having, left the house and the wind, little breeze come up and the leaves were just falling off.
I'll never forget that, Rich came into the elevator at Sharp, and he didn't even have a load, and we asked him if he was done, he said, no, I just got tired, I needed a drink, so he just,
Everybody's pickup full.
he hadn't got his pickup full yet.
Development agreement, it'll be messy.
Because we asked for development agreement, but he doesn't have. You're signing, there's more, there's on there you need to sign.
Do we need to sign this other sheet, the back, everything?
Does it have another one?
Oh, that might be,
Probably 2 copies of that.
yeah, probably 2 copies.
Oh, okay, okay, that's the same sheet.
Yeah, it's probably
Okay.
2 copies. I didn't sign the fact sheet, did I?
No, no, that's fine, I just,
I guess we just have it on. Okay.
They only sign this one side, huh?
What, we've got one, yeah. This one says the 2 million principal amount. This one is 915 on this
So
one.
this doesn't go any further than.
Nope, just you.
Hold on here.
So, I didn't realize you had an erasable pen.
Looked at both of them, and I put that bullet and did something.
You can't use any other eraser, it has to be this.
I'll be darned. So this is
That's like
everything.
this.
never heard such a thing.
I haven't either.
I hadn't either, but I discovered them from the sheriff's office.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. You say that's where that goes? You'll hand that back, I'll sign that second page.
Okay.
Here, those things.
Everything,
One.
everything goes in there.
Yes, just the one day
Or, yes.
Do I sign?
Uh-huh.
You sign here too?
The first 3 pages, and now you know.
How you doing, Carl?
Doing okay, Darren's on his way. so
Okay,
about
that'll
10,
work
15
great.
minutes.
We'll sign that back page too.
Okay.
There's 3 pages to the rest of you.
3 pages, check.
There's a front and a back page on that.
These are all you?
These are all the front page.
You need to
I'll get that back to you, and there's another one here.
If it gets any worse, won't be able to read. Won't be able to read now.
Feel like the one.
That's going to
Here's more signature factors.
and just one signature on this thing. When I was going to school, just get out of high school and then go downtown. I printed just like that, just like a typewriter. By the time I got out of fourth stage, I couldn't read it hardly.
There's the chairman.
Was that the college activity that did that, Don?
Had to write things so
You
fast.
have to go
To
through.
keep up with the instructor.
Yeah.
I've got my youngest grandson. He
You'll
has
be in
his,
town tomorrow, too.
writing is just like that fiberboard.
Really?
Aaron.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so small, it's half that size, but it's just like typewriter. When he went to college, it evidently didn't bother him,
Uh-huh.
There's 2 places there waiting.
Okay.
There's two here.
That's just you and I.
These 3 pages again.
Got 2 on the
Yeah.
front, where that sticky note is.
there's 2 sticks.
Yeah, one's just for me back there in the back,
Okay.
for Andy, 1 or 2.
Okay. I didn't notice that, though. Keep me lined out.
I'm the one that needs to be lined out.
Every one of us has our days. We're not able to admit that, we're fooling ourselves.
Just ask my wife.
I don't know, it's every day anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this one's just all these in. This is two.
Would have been Labor Day, where we had our meeting on Tuesday.
Yep.
I had to, I'm supposed to have my doctor's appointment for, get my blood checked and everything before my surgery. Yeah, I forgot that too, but I got it last week. Again.
So you got covered?
Yep,
We already do the levy one?
Waiting on the paper.
So you're being gone, when you
Oh,
said.
yeah.
I hope Tom's back, or we just not 3 of us
Yeah, I think we talked about that. I don't know that he told us definitely.
He didn't know if he'd be back or not, the way I.
I think that's what it is.
There's 2 pages there.
I'm
Okay.
not sure where we went this.
Yeah.
Just keep a stack there,
All right.
and then, I think Wade will need to sign some, I need to sign some.
Right.
Okay.
Rip off one of those stickies, signed stickies, right there, just pull it off. Thank you.
That's got this and then this
Yeah.
going back there and on.
Morning.
Good morning. Good, how are you?
Oh, she's coming in to stamp stuff, isn't she?
These are the last two.
Yeah, looks like that. Did you find one? Okay.
No, okay. Thank you.
You kinda gotta hunt for the signature pages in those darn things.
Just that one? There's two. Maybe I didn't give you this one yet. Yeah, I did. Shoot, sorry.
No, she's notarizing the agreement, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like the,
Yeah, the, there's a place where you need a notary.
The county of the developer.
county developer agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so just the two?
I think so.
All right.
Thank you very much.
I'm glad y'all got that stuff straight.
Yeah.
I'd be no good.
Morning.
Good morning.
We go ahead and start the call.
Sure.
Come on up, Carl. Thanks for moving.
Oh, no problem. Appreciate that.
Gets things accomplished for a day. More accomplished.
This first handout I'm giving you kind of will give you a picture of some of the ideas that we're talking about at this time. Nothing's permanent, nothing's written in stone yet.
Thank you.
You want one, Angie?
Sure, yeah.
And the second document I'm giving you is just something I've written out, a proposal. Now, it's not my best writing, so I'll apologize about my technical writing yet. I didn't get a chance to polish it up. What it is out at the airport, Bobby's I've been working with Bobby, and he's given me kind of a challenge of what can we find to do to how to handle the wastewater from SSM or any other industry that would be out there. And due to it's out at the airport, there is some FFA things we need to observe and look at. And FFA, I got Darren here in case we got questions about it, so we can look at it. What he did was, is in this first attachment right here, this is the picture. Did I forget to give you one?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay. The first document's just some attachments, so I can kind of give you guys a visual of what we're looking at. Now, I got two industries that, we know that one's going to be, there's the SSM. There's a possibility there's going to be another industry there named Paragon Possibility. And what this is out to the east of them, we've got a pretty flat area out there. We haven't surveyed it yet to see how it would work or not work as far as being able to gravity feed versus pumping it. But that's the area we have in mind right now when I talk with Darren Sabin and Bobby about a possible usage for what we would call an elevated septic tank filter system. I shouldn't call it septic tank, but it's elevated sand filter system that would filter the wastewater so it would go down into the clay soil out there even better. Now that gives you the land area that we're talking about dealing with out there. And then the handout that I give you is kind of a proposal. It talks about on the first page, it's called a communal system, and that would be if all the industries wanted to use this at one time. We put it into a common holding tank, or I should say, they would have a septic tank and they would transfer it to what we call pump tanks, so we can feed, what we call low pressure gravity feed tank to the septic tank lateral field. I shouldn't say lateral field, but absorption field. Now, if you go to page 2, what we got is the first one, the top picture, is how the sand filter would work, would be the picture of the mechanics of the filter of what it would look like. Now, where you see these half circles on here is what we call chambers. I brought up that have one of these. This is what we call an infiltrator chamber system, in which the water would feed into the top and come down to the bottom and then fall down onto the sand filter. We would cover this with sand and the geotextile fabric so the soil wouldn't get down in there, and then the sand would act as a filter as the water moved down through the sand and into the soil. And this kind of gives you that picture that we have up there. Now, as we also look at this, if you look at the bottom picture, now we would put this in one big field. We wouldn't have any absorption field. These would be next to each other, like it's shown here, and we would center feed them. And then what we would do is then have the wastewater loaded or pumped out there into this area where we would have this chambers. And it would fall down onto this sand filter and it would be absorbed into the soil. And that was just to give you kind of the big overview of one of the things we was talking about. It's easy, because in Kansas most of the time we use lagoons, but since wastewater lagoon, but since we're right by the airport, there's a strongly, highly recommended that we don't use anything close to the airport that would bring birds in or anything that could cause a hazard to the planes coming in and out. So this is why we're looking at something that's basically an absorption field that would go underground.
Is this on the east side of the fence or the west side of the fence?
This would be on the west side, if I give it, the taxi runway.
Okay, west side taxi runway, east
Right.
side of the fence.
Right, and then it would run right up to where you see how I got the picture drawn on the building.
Is there a concern about the extra water being into the subsoil there, Darren, and the taxi runway?
From talking to Carl, it doesn't look like there will be any to speak of with the water usage that SSM, CanSeal,
Right.
and Paragon with their usage.
Basically what we're talking about is this SSM, these are the projected numbers that we're just looking at the moment. Is their wastewater generation would be 880 gallons per day, and then Paragon's wastewater generation would be 1,275 gallons per day. Now these are based on what the highest numbers they would produce at. Now, like Paragon was at 75 employees, but they wouldn't have 75 employees there all the time.
Right.
And that's projected number. They're looking more like it would be 30 to 40 daily, but they would have peak times during the year. And so, and that also relates back to SSM, as they make what they call reverse osmosis water. They're wanting to give us the brine water, but that would only be done in batches, so it wouldn't be every day, but we're filtering it on every day so we know how to adjust for peak loads when they have to wastewater sometime. We know what their peak demand might be.
You mentioned a septic tank. Septic tank's still gonna collect all the solids,
Yes.
and then they'll be pumped out occasionally?
What it would be, yes. What it would be is it would be a two-chamber septic tank. First chamber would take and settle the solids out. Wastewater would then transferred to the second chamber. Now what we need to do is shoot some elevations. It would be savings crew to shoot some elevations out there to see if we could gravity feed it to what we would call a pump tank so we could dose it. We would have another tank out there for what we call dosing. And that tank would pump a certain amount of gallon of water out there at a time. It just wouldn't be gravity feed. It would be time dosed. And that's for the most make it the best. It'd be the best way to dose the field so it's always working down in there and you're just not getting a little bit at a time.
Right. Gravity's just gonna just sit there in one spot.
Yes,
More than
and
likely.
what it'll do is just kind of saturate until that spot saturates and then move out a little further. And as we dose it, then we spread it over the entire system.
So this would handle CanSeal, Paragon, and SSM.
If they choose to be.
I mean,
We still need to have that conversation with the industry.
So what happens if there's an expansion on, will that handle more than just?
We can design it to over-design it even more, or just put in another
Another system like?
another system, sure
Okay.
that
Carl, I just had, yeah, that was what we had been discussing was, we can, this actually, if you remember, we're still trying to look at the options, what's the best way to go. Certainly with this being on the airport property and having a good lay of the land, if we can make this work, I think it's gonna be cost effective. And we can begin to size it or plan for a future growth and use a similar type system because the property.
Just another system besides,
Could be,
oh, right.
yeah, or we size this one.
Or size this one to
Yeah.
handle,
Yeah.
okay.
And if for some reason we would get so big, then maybe we would take a look at the option of pumping the water, the wastewater to Strong through Force Main. And that cost to get it back to 17th Road would be about $750,000. Right through some numbers real quick down on a piece of paper, today's cost, it would be about $750,000, and that would only be for the 2,000 gallons. And we'd have to, if we ever really drastically increase in size, we'd have to resize that Force Main at that time. Because we got efficiencies of pumping and the size and the diameter of the pipe.
And right now, take, you say 3/4 of a mil to
Yeah,
get it
and
to
we would only
17.
use a small diameter pipe. And that wouldn't take in any future usage at that time. Because of the low volume of water we're dealing with.
Right.
Why a low diameter pipe?
Can you help me on that one? When Rick and I was talking, in order to efficiently pump it and do it on a timely basis where you don't have solids settle out, is to getting it up over the hill, you would use a lower diameter pipe. Because it's only to get it to flow.
More for pressure and flow.
And he goes, you know, I didn't size it because I just gave you the rough. And he says, and that wouldn't be able to take into, so if you doubled or tripled out there, what you may have into the future, it may take a larger diameter pipe to be able to get that to pump out.
So that's gravity?
Force main. It would be a.
Oh, okay.
Because where we're at, we'd have to go over that hill
Right.
on the curve.
Right.
And then it would have to be pumped over the hill to get strong.
And airport board, right?
Yes.
I guess have they been,
I talked to them last Wednesday, and Carl had given me a bunch of information on just, will be elevated just a little bit, but it will be mowable. They're not concerned about an eyesore. I've looked online at existing systems. I don't think anybody will even notice it.
We would build this at what we call grade. It's basically what we would do is put the sand filter, and it'd be basically a 2-foot high mound out there, 2 to 2.5 foot mound out there. With the sand and be as part of that is underneath it. There is some dimensions in that photograph that I give you that would give you the idea. Now, we would have to build berms. Darren has a great big pile of soil down there at the far south end of the airport that we would use to cover it with, to cover the mound, plus build the berms around it.
So
Now, I don't know how
you-
much soil's out there.
You'd just be able to see right over the top of that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't affect our operations at all. The only thing, question for Saban, is it in the setback area for the taxiway? Is that where this system is proposed?
Yes.
Is it, it will not interfere with the setback area that the FAA has?
It should not,
Okay.
it should not. In fact, our thought would be, again, we haven't done any engineering yet on it, but our thought would be we take all those requirements into account when we really go to place the facility and design work. We'll just, all the FAA rules will have to be governing that. But
The placement.
yeah, again, I think we'll be fine.
And we're looking at the options, is basically what it is. And right now, this is one of our leading options as far as if we use a communal type system that all the industries would use. If you look on page 2, I also have some information there of what an individual system for both of the SSN and Paragon would be. Darren's currently on his own system out there. It still works, so.
no, it's a septic system out there, Darren?
It is.
You have to have it cleaned out? Pumped out?
In 32 years, we've had a clean water. And we don't go through much, you know.
I mean, it's just you and your help, isn't it, basically?
Yeah, and, but I would venture to say Kansas would very much appreciate being included, because they've had a heck of a time with their system.
They just the people want to know, we haven't put a dollar figure to what it would take for them to contribute. So before we talked to Kansas and Paragon, SSM was, Bobby had talked to them about we could possibly build a communal system out there. So we would take that cost and apply it to each of them.
Right. Plus a monthly fee.
Yeah. Exactly. Much like what the cities already do, we would use that model of how we would price that.
Yeah, we just, that's what Carl and I talked about, is frankly, just use a similar model to what the city's done. And, I mean, it's acceptable in the community, it's a very reasonable way to handle a system like this.
We still have some design concerns yet with SSM, because taking that, what I call that RO water, it's brine water, and we want to make sure we got the proper dilution and knowing that we're going to have enough other water mixing in with it, so we don't ruin our the absorption field. And I need to talk with their engineer. They've been really gracious in giving me all the information, sending me stuff as I requested. So that part hasn't been hard whatsoever.
Bottom line on that is that whatever standards that we say have to go through this septic system, that's gonna govern what they can deliver to us. If you understand that, we're gonna protect your interests in that regard.
And Paragon's basically domestic waste. Kansas City will be primarily domestic waste.
And that's
We just got a little bit of, like I said, it'd be about 600 gallons, 650 gallons of the RO reject water, which would be what I call broken water. KDHE has given me the green line.
And that's just in their manufacturing.
What it is for whatever, I'm not sure what they would be doing as far as the right title for what they would do, but they would have some processed water that they would use. And once they use that processed water and use it for, it's going to be a rinse water is what it's going to be, it becomes an industrial waste. They're committed to what they call a zero liquid discharge, which means they're going to continue to recycle that water as long as they can through using reverse osmosis technology, and then possibly even what they call ion chambers to precipitate the metals out if it gets high in metals. And then they would coordinate with KDHE, because at that point in time, it would be considered a solid or a hazardous waste. KDHE has a test they would perform, and then KDHE would segregate how they handle that. So that would be between SSM and KDHE, not us.
Yeah, it's really not our responsibility.
No, that's how, yeah. So it would basically be the wastewater, we have to define what we would be taking. So,
There's 6 inches of cover over, what's that over, all the sand?
that's over the sand and the chamber. The deal, the entire system, we'd actually put 8 on and then have it, and it'll settle down to 6.
You know, that sand's probably gonna be moist, pretty moist all the time. You get into a fairly heavy rain period of time, you just won't be able to mow it for a period of time.
Yeah.
Just gotta be very careful, because it really track easy.
What we want to do is make sure that we have it tilted like a football field, to where the water, I'm not saying it wouldn't saturate, but what I'm saying is we direct as much runoff off of it as we can, because we don't want any runoff going down, because that would hurt the absorption bed down below.
You can't put dirt over the top of that sand?
You can, that's what we would do.
You will put dirt over the top of
Yeah,
that
that's
sand?
Basically,
very much.
I should have brought 2 up. As we stack these row to row, we would fill it up to sand to above what we call the alluviors. And then once we do that, then we would put geofabric over the top of it, so it'll keep the soil from working down into our filter media, so to speak. And then what we would do is after we put the soil on, then we would seed it to grass. And
That's
then
the
mix
actual
mow.
size of that's the actual size of it, or are they bigger?
They're bigger. No, they're way bigger. 3 foot by 4 foot.
Okay.
And the one that we would use probably is what they call high capacity, 18 inches tall. They also have one, I think it's a size down if we start to run short on fill, where it's 12 inches. And then what it is the peak's not as high. And it's flatter, so you wouldn't have as much fill. But this goes back to some calculations that Rick and his people, Saban and his people need to do for us.
So the sand, this is probably a silly question, but the sand won't compact.
No, it's almost like, you know how they're building these sports fields now, where the sand has a percolation capability, and a drainage capability.
It'd be clean sand.
Yeah, so there be calculations on, conditions such that it's placed properly.
And what we would do with the sand is we just don't leave it in there loosely. There would be compaction, a compaction standard that we would put it in there at. And that standard then allows you to walk across it to set the infiltrators on top. What the sand does is it acts as as an aerobic area, so you don't get a film buildup over the soil. If we just put that on top of on top of the soil, especially with clay, since it moves so slowly, you can get what they call a slime layer under, or biolayer. And what the sand does is help stop that, prevent it. It lowers the risk. You can never say no, but it lowers the risk. And that's what we're doing with the sand. And then, as we do that also, we would also have what I call an effluent filter that would be put on there, so it would get the bigger solids ahead of it back in the septic tank and keep them there.
What are you estimating the cost of this?
I haven't processed, we haven't cost out everything, but I put it in there. If we, in the writings I give you, just on the chambers, the septic tank is around $2,000 for a 2-chamber, 1,500-gallon septic tank. Now, I haven't been able to find any standards for a holding tank, so I haven't priced a holding tank, but we would have things like the pumping, and then, of course, cost of the sand, and then moving the dirt from one end of the airport to the other to do that. But the chambers themselves, each one of these chambers, when I called the manufacturer, is $40 a piece, and I put the estimated number in there for whether it was an individual who was doing it, or whether it was going to be.
So each facility will have their own, would have their own septic tank.
Yeah.
For their own solids. We're not gonna have one big septic tank that everything's gonna go.
Everything that I have is I'm basing that judgment right now on the simple fact I can only find 1,500-gallon septic tanks. And see, by the code we have, and KDHE's recommendations is it's gotta be a certified septic tank by the state of Kansas. So if we did find one, and Saban was willing to stamp off on it, and say that it's a good septic tank, then we could use it. And that's how we would handle that. But we need to shoot some elevations, because I'm one person who likes to use gravity as much as we can and not rely on pumps. And once we shoot some elevations, then we know how we could set the system to where we can, what we would put in out there.
Pumps are made to break.
Yeah.
And so these are just general ideas to the solution, so as we progress down the road, we know you guys have an idea of what we're talking about.
So, Carl, the days of the septic tanks they've gotta go into laterals or into sand.
Yeah, you
or
can't
something.
just outlet a septic tank out to the open surface of the ground.
I mean, it just, to me, it looks like if we went around the north end of the runway, and went down there, that'd be a great place for sand or
I'm not saying we can't do that. This
whatever.
is, for what I was given for the time frame, I was looking at the most closest usable area, is what I was.
I understand.
There's nothing that says we can't.
All I'm thinking, we're talking about some more expansion, and then from whatever I gather from everybody, you get up to the road, we want a road that's gonna curve to the east, so it doesn't enter Highway 75 right at a T, basically.
No,
So.
This isn't a have to.
I'm not designing this, I'm just asking, okay? If there was some way that could be over here.
No, I appreciate that.
Northeast of the runway somewhere, and leave this whole area.
Well, I'll
for
task
expansion.
David with some homework
Well,
like that when he drives by. I was just looking at the closest area.
Oh, no, I understand, I'm not saying that this space, if you've got the space used out here against the highway, this space that you're proposing here, I see nothing wrong with this project. I'm just thinking of further businesses, if more show up that want to go into the north, there is all I'm thinking of.
I think, to me, first off, the good news is when you approved our engineering work to work on the SSM project, which that's done, surveying is in there. So we can start getting some of these elevations in several locations out there so that we can look at some options.
But you're exactly right there, Wade. If we can make the elevations work and we can take it that direction and to look towards something towards the future, then that's very, very prudent. And elevations always tell us a good story.
And maybe this isn't, all that expensive. Maybe it's a solution. Maybe this is the way to go, the solution for now. I'm not arguing that. I'm just,
Oh, no, I'm one of these people, I like to see lots of answers, and then we'll have a discussion and pick the best solution.
Yeah.
And that's another option to look at, because I'll bring it up on Google Earth or the appraiser's map and take a look.
Because you got a good
Darren and see
fall
what
off that way.
And that's just what I was gonna say, to the north, that might alleviate your pump problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could go deep enough is the runway about level?
The runway is level.
Okay, so I mean, you wouldn't have to go very deep once you get around the end of the runway, then you got all the fall of the world.
The elevation north of the runway is way lower than the runway, so.
Because if it's a matter of looking at Paragon or Can Seal, as we look at this, we just have to dig that trench a little bit deeper to get it to go that way. That's better than putting in a lift station.
Got plenty of distance to make the fall. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the good news, if you think at that location, on the north end,
Yep.
we got plenty of distance to make the fall gravity-wise.
How far you gotta have?
It's not,
Saving, what,
it's not as
2%?
much as you think. It's, I'd have to check with the sewer guys in my office, but it's not as dramatic as you think, because of what's moving through those pipes. And that's kind of where Rick was talking about the size of the pipe, you know, and what's moving through it. But, I'd have to get back to you on that, but it's not,
Yeah.
I don't think it's very much.
Even if it
No, it's
gets,
not.
it can be too steep, is what I
I was gonna say,
understand.
you may
The
have to
water
run out
runs-
deep.
Yeah, the water
Yeah.
runs off and leaves all the salt.
It can outrun.
Too much, is what I've been told, I'm not.
Yeah, no, that's good, yeah.
Yeah.
That's correct, but
Yeah,
that's
leave
another
that.
possible answer to the solution. I mean,
I'm not.
That's a good idea.
This is a
No, it
great
is.
solution for
Good
now, but I just, just wondering.
when I have people whispering in my ear saying, man, we need to keep this low cost, I'm just looking.
I know. And that's probably, maybe this is absolutely the way to go for now.
No,
You know?
we'll look at it. No, we'll
Yeah.
look at it, because, when I drive by the next time, I'll stop and drive a little slower, or pull the truck over and look at the aerial photographs and see what it would look like.
I think we need to evaluate that lagoon very seriously. To me, it'll end up being a lower cost than trying to, build one, then build another one, and build another one. You're gonna have a lot of money tied up in that when you're all said and done.
The lagoon is not, I mean, like Carl said, they strongly,
There can't be a,
Yeah,
there can't be a lagoon.
Use
think
the lagoon.
it is not that there cannot be, but
But there,
That'd be bad.
I think it would take a long time to get approved
This will-
anyway.
Yeah, I don't.
The appeal
Yeah.
process is that they tell us on the front side, if we was gonna do a lagoon out there, that one of their wildlife specialists comes in and then they'll take and evaluate it. So we go through the evaluation period. Their recommendation, please correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's 10,000 feet for a lagoon.
I mean, my thought would
Away
be a
from the
large,
runway,
Yeah.
that's 2 miles, 2 miles.
a large septic system was what I had,
Yeah.
what.
The best option is a lagoon,
No,
but
yeah.
not in this location.
Right.
I mean,
that's why we was also strong being one of the possible locations. And that's why there was one of the options that we had tossed out earlier. I mean, when we looked at it. But knowing that we gotta watch, we don't wanna be over exuberant with money.
Yeah, and this is probably the best solution for now. I'm just,
No, we'll look at them.
yeah.
I think it's great that you suggested it. I have no problem with that at all.
There's a comment on this, second page, thanks to pipes hung from the top of the chimney. What's that mean?
That's that would be part of the low pressure system. That's where the water would fall down into the chamber at. That would be a pipe that's mounted in
Right
the
in the
step
top of
pools.
this.
Yeah.
Inside of there.
That would be part of the low, they don't have any hooks in there. But what it is it'd be a pipe right down the middle of the chamber that would drop that water down in. But the more water, the better we distribute it, or the whole field, the longer it lasts, and the better it'll utilize the system. If you guys got any ideas or questions, you know where to find me.
Well, and what it would seem like to me, it's not like build this and decide to do something later. It's not like it's some huge mess to clean up.
No.
But that spot's probably not gonna be very valuable because all the frontage is already
Yeah.
taken in.
It's just, when I asked Darren about was, is this usable for anything? And
Yeah,
that's why I was
yeah.
looking at it.
No, well, that's great. I mean,
it's a dead area on the east side of the fence, right?
well, actually, it would be west side of the fence.
West side of the fence.
West
So
side.
it's not between the fence and the run, the taxiway?
No, I
No,
believe it would be on the west.
No,
it's the west side of the taxi.
West side of the taxiway, west side of the fence.
Yes,
This is,
so outside
That
the
wouldn't
field,
be-
the
to
airfield.
be, this would be west right here.
Right, right, but so SSM's 8 acres is not gonna come up and
No.
butt against the fence
No.
then?
This would all be on Coffee County, it would be on Coffee County ground.
Okay, okay, okay.
And this gets back, we'll have a discussion at a later point in time, if we do this, how do we want to handle that?
And again, that's beneficial, keeping it on the west side of the fence, so we're not at all on the
Air,
airfield
that's
side.
what I was
Right.
thinking,
Yeah,
that's
no,
what I
not-
was thinking.
No.
It was closer to the runway than
Yeah.
what I was thinking,
Yeah.
which would put it on the east side of the fence. And I didn't know about the water getting up close to the taxiway,
Right.
if that would hurt the soil underneath the taxiway. But this is on the west side.
West side of the fence, yeah.
Okay.
And there's a flat, it's a relatively flat area, so.
It
But
is.
but the elevations will tell a little bit of the story out there.
Yeah.
Because, you know, his idea about taking it on north, if the elevations work and we can make everything gravity to a big holding tank and then a pump tank, or however we decide to do it, or a 3-compartment tank. I mean, we have multiple options as long as they didn't Sam's off on it. So,
We can work with Darren to get topo of the airfield, airport, that way we know those elevations.
My only thing is if you're charging somebody for the septic use, and they've got their own septic tank, when that becomes an issue, they're gonna point the finger towards the county side.
right, because
If
the
the county's not taking care of the whole.
county would have to monitor what they're, you know, keep an eye on what they're
each
doing,
septic
yes.
tank is.
And, you know, this septic system that we're talking, this absorption field we're talking about, we would put what we call observation ports in it. And what those observation ports do is just a PVC pipe with a lid on it. Take your flashlight, you see if the wastewater is accumulating or not accumulating in there, and see if it's working like it should. And it'd be the same thing with the septic tanks, whether we go to one big one or they each have an individual one. They would have a port that comes up to the surface, and we would know, just throw a number out, every 5 years we're gonna pump this. And we set it in, we would create an operations manual. That operations manual would have that in it. And then, like you say, the pump tank, you know, where do we get the parts? What kind of pumps out there? You know, so that way it's all documented how to operate this also as part of the project. Because it's not, no matter what, it's not gonna ever go away. You gotta have an operations manual to go with it. I'm just trying to stay away, you know, because it's a good suggestion, stay away from anything we have to pump, well, and everything gets gravity as possible.
No, you've done your homework, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Still got homework to do.
Still got homework to do.
Yeah, and then people throw answers on that.
It's interesting homework. I enjoy working with David and Darren and Rick, but it's very interesting. I mean, I went through a lot of different states plans and ideas that are out there to find this. I mean, where I had a good diagram to educate you guys with.
What are you looking at from one end to the other, how long?
I'm gonna call it the basal area, the treatment area. The absorption area would be basically about 200 by 42. That would be 200 feet north to south, since I'm facing west, and then 42 feet east to west.
And you're looking at how much sand?
I don't know. I haven't calculated that yet.
That's why I'm just sitting here. Sand layer depth per design, 12-inch minimum.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 12 inches of sand, 42.
And that'll have to be compacted sand too. I mean,
So which is gonna be more.
Yeah.
Are you gonna have to, like frame this to keep that sand from when you're packing it? Is that gonna
Some of
push
the
out?
YouTubes show them to where they'll build up the berms to there, and then you would dump into it, and then you would work on it. Some of them just show that you just build the mound itself and have the equipment run along the sides, that you don't actually put some in there. I've seen it both ways on YouTube.
Okay.
It'd be something I would discuss with Saban as the best construction practice, so whoever built it.
Talk about a little bit of sand.
I got a contact to see if I can get you a deal on that.
Probably grab that out of Topeka, can't you?
Yeah.
Clean sand.
The Builder's Choice out there's got a bunch of sand, but
Does it have to be dry? What if you put?
it just
dry
needs to be
sand?
clean sand. They got a
Yeah,
specification on it.
Yeah, concrete sand, probably,
Yeah.
clean sand, wash sand.
So it sounds like that sand area is gonna be a huge area, but that equipment, or whatever you wanna call it, 200 feet's only 2/3 of the block, and 42 feet wide's not very wide.
No. It doesn't mean we have to use that
Yeah.
pattern. I was just coming up with a way to where I can give you a good illustration with a picture so you guys could be digesting it, because that was just a good picture of it, so.
Yeah.
There's nothing that says we can't do a different design on how to distribute that and do that. Because I work with Rick and Saban on that for efficiency to see what we would do as far as cost, if there's one design that works better than another. But I found this picture, and it was a great illustration,
Yeah.
so I can establish a vocabulary with you guys, so that way I'll have something to point and look at.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's something we're gonna have to look at, and times, we're selling the land, we're doing this, what are we gonna do for sewer? You know,
Yeah.
They're wanting to start building, and we've gotta get something figured out.
Right.
We're ready to.
Yeah.
I've shared information with
Particularly
them,
after this
so I
morning
mean,
work.
it's just a matter we all communicate, get the language now.
Right, right.
Does this have to be signed off on by any, can't even think of the right word, people in Topeka?
No, not at this time. If we was to introduce industrial waste into this at any point in time where the volume was to drastically increase, at that point in time, that they released me to handle it because it's not a huge volume.
If it had to go through Topeka, it takes 6 months, it'll go through Topeka.
I've worked with
That's
him.
another advantage of this solution, whether it's here or somewhere else with this type of solution.
The big win over this one versus what we would be doing at Beto is we're dealing with a much smaller volume of waste. I mean, right now, the projection numbers are only, say, 2,200 at the top end.
Yeah.
That's not a high volume of waste.
Well, that area, like I said, 200 feet, 4,200, or 42 feet, that's not a very big
No,
area.
it's not.
No. And we're cleaning the water up, I mean, before it goes down, makes it to the clay soil, so we'll be cleaning the water up to a factor also.
Yeah.
I'm just curious how much time roughly would this take to put in
I don't think it would take that long, it's just, what's gonna be is material.
material?
Right.
Material, and if we continue to be in a drought, really, because we can't construct during wet times because
Oh,
we
okay.
can't compact that basal surface area at all. We want to keep it as native as possible.
Yeah, you get the right weather, that project will be done pretty quick.
Yes, yes. I think a good contractor can get in there and knock it out pretty rapid.
And it's not extremely high-tech with a lot of different,
Sure.
Yeah.
the only high-tech part of it will be the pump tank for the loading of it.
Yeah, but whether it was put there or to the north.
Right.
Darren, is
Same
that,
kind of design.
Right.
Yeah.
is that dirt clean enough, you think, to
Yeah, it's,
work, I just never have looked at it that much.
I think it
been around
is.
it
A lot of
dozens
the stuff we took out, the contractors, if there was a lot of trash in it, contractor would still wants to put it in their area because we had no use for it. This we kept for any future projects where we might have to have some top soil.
Yeah.
Anything we have planned from here on out is gonna be taking dirt out, so, and it's been there 20 years.
Right, I just didn't know if it had rock or anything else.
Should be really clean.
Okay, okay.
Well, I don't have any questions. I mean, I like I say, I talked to Bobby, I was like, what about the sewer stuff? And,
Yeah.
you know, we need to start getting some stuff, some talk out in front of the board and the public and know
Yeah.
that we're getting, not getting the cart before the horse.
This sure looks workable.
It does.
Yeah.
And that was, like I said, I'm not saying that's the whole, that's one of the possible answers right there. And it's one that explains the rest of the language to you also.
You're probably, I mean, just throwing a number out there, you're probably looking at less than quarter of a million, $250,000 to build this system.
I think so.
Probably $120,000.
I think I think it's south of 200.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure.
I mean, we haven't crossed them. I think based on just these initial pieces that he's coming, I think this is a manageable a manageable cost to the project.
I was including engineering fees too.
Oh, that doesn't cost anything.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm on the record.
Gotcha.
Cha-ching.
You know, Stephen, we can get a cost of this particular project, you know, for these two businesses, 2,000 gallon water a day, but I would like to see move the sewer deal a little bit further north, where because there is a fence up there going east and west, of course that could be taken out without any problem, but I'd like to see just exactly what it would cost if another business or two there was another 100 employees.
I think,
And whether now is the time to do that, you could do it at a lower cost per employee.
absolutely.
And maybe it's the time now to at least evaluate, look at it.
But as that land falls, there's nothing that says you can't stair step. Take something like this and stair step it down that slope.
Right.
Right.
So I think,
And that becomes another one of the solutions.
I think, I guess, in the back of my mind, as you all were having a discussion, I think, you know, we could work with Darren and just say, I mean, I think it's reasonable enough for us to look at the property as if you were lining businesses up to the north. If it continues to grow, we could just make some assumptions on the types of businesses that might go there. No guarantees, but at least we could say number, like you said, number of employees. If we used similar size acreage for the buildings, how many fit going up to 20th Street? I'm just picking a number. Maybe it's 4 more buildings. I mean, I'm just picking a number.
Right.
And then we estimate those employee numbers and usage, and we base that usage, say, off of the highest business. Let's say Paragon has 75 employees, and that's the most of any of them out there. We base it off of 75, so we're going to give you a conservative number, and then we can calculate the field, and you'd know. You know, that, I mean, to me, it's just using reasonable thinking that it's almost like land use planning. We're going to just say, here's the type of businesses that are going to go in. The good news is if it's anything like another SSM, then we're still going to deal with what we're dealing with now, which is if you're doing something with reverse osmosis and all that, we're going to talk a whole other story. But what's going into this system has got to be the stuff
Because if we
where
don't
it's
have proper
acceptable.
dilution water, we can't put that into our septic.
Right.
Yeah, so I think we could do something, at least give you some calculations and say, here's what could handle the planned 3, here's what could handle 7.
Because the domestic is figured off each employee at 15 gallons per person.
Yeah.
That's the number that we've chosen.
I don't think that would be difficult to
You're looking at
almost give you
300
kind of a 2-tier answer. You know, 3 that are there today plus the airport, and then, whatever.
And you did say like Paragon is just, their water usage would just be their
Domestic. It would be all domestic.
Right.
So, you know, based upon that, and like, you know, we know every so many years to pump that tank. Based on that, and then we know, you know, with the 2-chamber tank, whether it's an individual or a big one. Because like I said, if it's a big one and he stamps off on it, then we can move forward with it.
I think.
I mean, domestic is definitely a whole different animal versus industrial.
Right.
Once or when we get into that.
I don't see a problem now with us adding that into the effort.
Yeah.
I don't see a problem.
And I don't think that'd cost very much on your part, just to do some estimation on that.
It's estimated. I mean, it's reasonable estimation, I'm sure.
I say build it once and build it for what could be versus what's gonna happen. I would always like to build for what could possibly happen on there. 'Cause if you don't have it, you're not gonna push it, but if you have it, you're gonna push it.
What would be the savings, sorry to interrupt here, but what would be the savings, you know, you build for what you have now, Paragon, SSM, Can Seal, if this system works good, somebody else builds onto the north, a separate system, is there, and somebody else builds a separate system, you do not want 3 systems up there, if there's no pumps involved and it's all gravity.
I mean, the limiting thing becomes their space, their, you know, for what they have, because each of the companies has only got so much space.
Sure.
And so that's what it comes down to, is how do we use it, how do they want to use their space, whether it's parking lot or septic tank,
An easement to go on airport property
or
with
coffee kind.
sewer system versus.
Right.
Because I put that on the second page, is the choices that could be possibly part of this also, so.
That was my question, why do we wanna deal with septic, why do we
Well,
wanna?
the second page is where, I mean,
You know.
you can write it, you know, just like we do if I build right next to Wade's land. Then I, you know, when you grant me an easement to put it right on the property line. Well, you would just grant I think you would just grant an easement and talk it over with Wade, saying, well, we will allow you to build on this 4 acres or 3 acres, whatever it may be. Or you can sell it to them at a.
Well, and that's, I mean, you would want them to own the property
Yeah.
that the system is sitting on, which is gonna be more than 8 acres, than what they have, you know, so.
Traditionally, what happens in other states where they publish articles on it is businesses, this won't be their prime objective. Their prime objective is to make money.
Yeah.
And so they have a tendency to neglect them. So that's why sometimes it's better if we own it, that way the system's kept up, it's operated like it's supposed to be. That's the advantage of it, to always guarantee that. Because if I'm regulating it, then we're going to depend on me to have that relationship with Wade. If they're not operating correctly, we're going to fine you. You got to take care of it, you know. So.
It's all good discussion.
It is, it's great.
Great ideas, great discussion, I agree.
Yep.
I really like it. I like that system. Just seems like a clean system. No puns.
Yeah.
It just seems like a clean system.
Basically, every wastewater system, the success or failure comes down to 1, management, and 2, water usage. And if for some reason they bust a water line and purge the system, you know,
Right.
there's things that it can't happen, but I mean, we'll engineer for everything we can.
Sounds good.
You know, there's a lot of construction in Emporia and Topeka, you never see any lagoons. So there's probably more of those out there than what we know about.
Well, like with Emporia and Topeka, what it is, they hook into the city systems. Like, and then if they need to pre-treat it, then they will. Like, see, Frito-Lay, City of Topeka will not take their raw sewage, they have to take and pre-treat everything, and then they'll transfer wastewater to them for final disposal. But they have to treat it to a standard. M&M Mars, Home Depot Warehouse, they're all piped into Topeka, because if you look over in the weeds, you're gonna see a manhole about this tall, and that's where that wastewater main is.
The city of Topeka put the infrastructure in.
Yeah.
And will put the infrastructure in for development.
Right.
I mean, big time.
Clear out there to the airport, you know, so that area of Pauline and the airport, that all will go back. There's lift stations out there somewhere now.
Yeah.
So,
It's huge.
they're all, that could all still go to the Kansas River. I mean, that's where they're planning it.
Filling up with sand.
Yeah, I was out of town last week. Was there any, are you aware, was there any discussion at the Neustron council meeting?
We was there, on the 15th, and we went up and talked to him how they was one of the options. We talked to him about the volume of wastewater, how we was looking as our prime option was to handle it at site, but they was in the picture, because if it did develop to where we did need to go somewhere where we needed to get rid of a bigger volume of what we could design out there, they was part of it. We did talk to him. And we also talked to him about water usage, for the area, you know, if there's a way that they could work with RWD3 somehow, you know, so we have them it's not that it's not reliable, it's to where they're connected, I think, by 2 inch. If they had 6 inch and connected them, they can help each other emergency wise, and Strong could really help 3 out. I mean, that was just a brief talk, but we talked to them about why they was a consideration, what the characteristic of the wastewater was.
Did you get any
positive
response?
feedback? Yeah, it was
Okay.
a positive, genuinely a positive
I was
feedback.
curious, because I was wanting to be there, but I was out of town.
Bobby and I went up and talked to him. We talked to him about economic development, and then I talked about the oil, water, and wastewater, and any questions they may have.
Okay, thank you.
But that's basically what the conversation was. We made it up to.
Okay.
We'll go talk to people.
Because I knew you were on the agenda, so.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else, gentlemen, unless anybody else does.
I don't.
No.
You did well.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you have any questions, get a hold of me.
Appreciate what you've already done and look forward to
Yeah.
We'll look at it.
I know you want to wrap up, but I promise you to come back every other week, and I can give you a real quick, what's going on with us.
Sure, that's fine.
That's okay, it won't take but a minute. Interestingly enough, after we met a couple of weeks ago, so I did have a meeting. If you remember, we submitted on your behalf for a federal RAISE grant for the countywide trails network, which included the trail between Burlington and New Strong, and also trails in all 6 cities. That was in the comprehensive plan we did for the county. We were not successful, and we went after, I believe it was we went after a $20 million grant or a $12 million. I'd have to double check my number. It escapes me at the moment, but we were not successful. The county was not successfully selected, but the U.S. Department of Transportation in Washington, D.C., from my experience in doing these grants, they offer what's called a debrief on your application. So I held that debrief with them on your behalf. And the short version is we came really close. I mean, like really, really close. They have 8 scoring categories on each of these grants. In order to make it to, I'll call it the Secretary of Transportation for consideration, so through 2 review processes, and then for the final review, you need to have a high, what's called, and a simple score, I mean, low, medium, high. 6 of those 8 categories needs to be high. Our trails application for you all had 5 out of the 8, and the other 3 were all medium. And so the application was really well received. It scored very well. They encouraged that there will be there's these rounds of funding come every year, and it's about $1 billion a pop, nationally. If you remember, this administration in the White House has increased the amount of money for rural significantly in these programs. In past programs, it would be about 20% or 25%, and many of them now, it's 50%. So I was incredibly encouraged because I think I may have said to you when we applied, don't be surprised you won't get funded. You kind of got to get in the hopper so they become aware of your project, and we had letters of support from both of your senators, Moran and Marshall. We had your local U.S. Congress person. We had state people. We got a lot of letters of support together. We had your letters of support. So I wanted to share that encouraging news. I think you should be encouraged by
So
that.
this is something you just resubmit then?
Yeah, so it's one of these where, yes, you do, and I don't think it would take a lot of rework. They gave me a lot of notes on the 3 mediums, kind of, what we might do to improve those scores. The one they'll never make a guarantee because they're the federal government, but because the reviewers, I mean, literally they have hundreds of reviewers, so we might have different reviewers, that kind of thing. But they were very optimistic that Coffee County, for a first shot out, it really was pretty darn close. And so that program, again, I believe there will be a call for projects with the RAISE program, probably October, November. I'll be back when that call comes and just ask you if you want us to resubmit on your behalf. But secondarily, I was asked to come to the Waverly City Council last Wednesday. They were kind of curious with that plan, where are we at? So I did brief them, though. I just had the meeting, so told them where that application was at. They're interested in looking into, if you remember, their big issues were stormwater and some flooding of city streets. In my meeting with the U.S. Department of Transportation, I actually kind of took a tangent and said, okay, we've got these stormwater issues in some of the cities in Coffee County. Are there programs we should be focusing on that could help them? And they gave me 2 particular programs that those application windows should be coming in the next handful of months. So I communicated that to Waverly. And I'm thinking that, from their discussion, they're probably gonna wanna come visit you guys and talk a little bit about, how they might wanna proceed with that. There's several categories where they could go after funding. And then that raises the question that in the study, we had some other stormwater issues in a couple of the other cities in the county that I may go ahead and call and go visit them and let them know, hey, there's some programs that you need to be aware of that you can look at.
A lot of the problem with the runoffs in the cities that have creeks or sloughs that run through them is cleaning it out, so water can get out of here faster.
So
It gets built up.
So that is a very interesting, not to get into the weeds too much, but federal government always comes up with acronyms and crazy names, but this program is called it's called PROTECT, and I didn't bring the paperwork, but that's an acronym for a long name, okay? But it's interesting because in that program, to your very point, these are transportation dollars that can be used for stream reparation, slope reparation, because of flooding that can cause problems on city streets, sidewalks, things of that nature. This was one of the programs that the USDOT person recommended that we focus on, because I was like, okay, we have stormwater issues, but we need to solve, but it's causing road issues. And she says, look at this program. And so it actually will fund some of your stream bed reparation, because you can prove a benefit to your city street network and flood insurance and things of that nature. So
somebody cleaning their yard out along the stream, and there's a big branch, you can't tell me it's not gonna get thrown in that creek.
Yeah.
Instead of hauled off.
Right.
It's gonna get thrown over the bank, and then it's gonna go downstream and get botched up somewhere.
Well, and even when we were doing the study for you all, not to belabor you guys, but when we were looking at Burlington here, we went out to the golf course, and I would say a high contributor to the issue is the streams, the erosion control and the management of the stream bed itself. And so these are types of areas that could benefit from, again, it's an application process, but these are new dollars to all communities in the country.
They quit sending so much to Ukraine, we could have more dollars, right?
I'm going to just nod in my head.
What type of matching funds is there on these programs?
Most of the rurals is 100%. You don't,
It is
yeah.
for most of them.
And some of them are 90-10, so 10% match. I will say typically, at least in the past, they do appreciate. I think you tend to score a little better if you have a little bit of skin in the game. So even a 100% program, if you can show, and some of that can be soft costs, like your maintenance crews have been doing some of this work, and we calculate how much that effort is, because they keep, you all keep records and put that into the numbers and how you put an application together. But many of the programs are 100% for rural. In fact, on your trails application, we did 100%, and it still scored very well. So
And you probably put that trail deal on behalf of every city?
I did.
What's the length of time of getting those projects done?
Well, the good news is, I say good news, it can be challenging. When you get these federal programs, they have an obligation date. So you may get you may get the money, and then you got to go through a process to get the agreement with the federal government. But then they may say, okay, you were funded in October of 2023. You have until September of 2026 to obligate those dollars. So you got to get moving.
Yeah.
You got to get moving. And so that's the encouragement, because they need those dollars to show progress. So that, in my opinion, that's good news, because there are other programs that are older programs that didn't all have those obligation parameters, and there are times when communities may have gotten funding and the funding gets pulled back because they didn't move forward with the project in a timely enough manner. Anyway, that's and then a couple other quick things. I told you I'd kind of keep you up to date on KSMC on the Beetle project. We haven't been doing a lot up there because we were waiting. EMP and they're the big kahuna on the site. And they have hired their design builder to do their facilities. And one of the first orders of business is they wanted to look at our site plan and our site grading plan and determine where their buildings would be best located. Because honestly, they're 80% of the site, if not more. And so they just returned their preferred placement of buildings back. It is a change to what we came up with, but so we're working right now to kind of see how the grading changed, what those conditions are. And that's really all the work we're doing up there right now. And the only other thing I foresee is, they do have us in a couple weekly meetings to keep us abreast of what they're working on. We did have a meeting with Evergy because, again, these things are gonna, when they get the go, it's gonna go. And my staff has been working with Evergy, but we're finally starting to get some numbers from EMP on what they might need in use. And so that's helpful now because we're going to start getting that to Evergy. And I will say that the utility companies, and you heard this even with KDHE, see, all these companies were calling all these agencies. And the agencies and the utilities were kind of getting, I won't say frustrated, but they're like, who do we talk to? So they're very happy to direct it to me at this point. I'm not saying I'm happy, no, I'm kidding. But I think they appreciate having a couple points of contact rather than 6 companies trying to deal with it. So we're trying to shepherd that. So again, that's some work I want you to be aware of that we're doing to help the project along. And then the last, a different topic, Bobby contacted me late last week, and then I've had a conversation. There is the possibility, it looks like a good possibility of a new development on the north side of Burlington. A group is interested in hotel, restaurant, and possibility of an entertainment area. And so I just had a conversation with them this morning on the county's behalf, and they're supposed to be sending me some information, a little bit more about what their site potential is, and so we can look at that and weigh in. So,
You did say on the north side of Newstrom?
No, Burlington.
Burlington, okay.
Yeah.
For some reason I heard Newstrom.
Yeah. I believe, it sounds to me like it's kind of north, maybe the west side of 75 for part of it, kind of north across from Dollar General, and then also property on the east side of 75. So anyway, keep you up to date on that. That's all I have. Thanks for
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pretty long minute.
But very informative.
We need to put a stopwatch on it.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I'll be happy to
Guys.
have the stopwatch on. You put them on. Thanks, guys.
Don't worry, hit the clock different.
Stop the charge clock. The shorter we keep him, the shorter the bill is, right?
Well, maybe.
Fade it off. Fade it off. Steve, do you have any roundtable today?
I don't, good.
Don, do you have any roundtable?
Fine.
Jess, Wade,
Nope.
Angie?
I do. So I got notice that October 5th is going to be our Government Day. And I think I sent you guys that email letting you also know. So whoever would want to participate is good every full time.
That's October 5th, I think.
Try that out. Okay, so, yeah, October 5th. So what we've done in the past is the schools, it's all the schools in the county, I believe, participate. So they will meet at the high school, and they're wanting to know if some of us would be willing to greet the students there instead of here, because we used to do it here, but now that the lobby's taken up with the security station, there's not really going to be any room. So they wanted to know if there would be a commissioner to greet students there. And then wanted to know if there would be a commissioner or several who would be willing to speak at the rotation, which would be in here, as I do, and I have a schedule of the rotation. I don't know if I printed that off for you, but there's different times. They come at 9:30, then the next group starts at 9:50, 10:10, 10:30, 10:50, 11:10. So one person might want to do it. Several of you might want to participate and take turns. So that, what I just gave you on the history is what's been used in the past. We can add to it, take away, whatever you want to do. It was just some notes to have handy. I have updated it to the most recent census and the most recent budget number. Everything else pretty well stays the same. So that's just a rough draft, or you can use it that day of what we've used. So.
You said October 5th?
It's a Thursday. So are any of you available that I can let them know that we will have someone greet, or, and then some of you speaking in here?
I think Bob's pretty well done it for last
He
year.
did.
Few years.
He did.
I'll have to look at my calendar.
That's okay, yeah. I mean, if I just have a couple of you, I don't care. I just need somebody.
I know, I've already looked, I'm available.
You're available?
Yeah, I don't have anything on that day.
Okay. It's a lot of talking to repeat those same things over and over. I mean, I do it every time, so I know by the end of the day, I don't want to talk to anyone ever again.
You know, as the kids rotate through the building here, so they spend 15, 20 minutes at each stop? Or
It's about 15, yeah. I'll
I
make
think
you a copy of this, because,
You said that was, we received that someplace, not to get where it's at.
yeah. Let me just do that real quick. I kind of.
Wide road system was January 1st, 79, 1980.
On October 5th, I can't. I better give it second week, second week.
Okay.
Yeah, she comes after the first.
She absolutely does. She has no cricket that day.
That's cutting off, so. Anyway, yeah.
And I won't be able to.
That's okay. Yeah, like I said, as long as I have a couple of you, I'm good to at least let them know that we will have people to help do that for the commissioner's part, so.
It's good PR for the young kids.
Oh, no, I think it's great.
And what is this called?
Government Day?
Okay.
So these would be the talking points, I mean, I'm
That's
just
some
trying
of
to.
them, yeah. And you can add to it if you want to. I created that years ago to help.
And this is what you go off, this is what,
The commissioners go up.
Right,
Yeah,
right, right.
I do mine over elections and
Sure.
what the role of the clerk's office is
Sure.
and all that, so, and like I said, we can add to it to help, so you don't have to keep thinking of what to say, we can kind of write out a little script if you want or whatever, and then you can elaborate or go off topic a little bit or whatever.
I thought our county-wide road system was in 1979, but maybe I'm mistaken.
Well, when we look back, that's where we found.
The only reason I know, the terrible storm, the blizzard, 78 was January 1st, 79, and that's the first day the county had responsible of the roads.
Oh, really?
January 1st, 79.
Okay,
I'm pretty
well,
sure.
I'll go back and look at that.
Okay. Not that it matters, but if somebody, someone else might know that, other than
And
me.
well, did they make the, well, I'll go back and look at that. We might have been off a year for that.
no, I think we had the elevator at Sharp at that time, and we couldn't get into the elevator for 3 days, because they'd come in and push the snow, and then another storm would come in. And fill it up.
Be deeper yet.
It'd be deeper yet. we had a heck of a time getting into the elevator.
Okay, and then, so you got your Wolf Creek Drill, y'all know that on Wednesday. And,
Oh, question, what time do we need to be here?
well,
Or what time do you know?
I mean, they stage, like if you come in here at say 8 or so, it'll probably be a little bit after 8, which they'll
Okay.
call or text you to go down to the EOC. So, isn't that kind of what you've done before, Don? And
Yeah, but we've never been called, in the times I've been involved, we've never been called for 8:30. So we
Yeah.
just sat here.
yeah, and so you could come at even 8:15 or something
Okay.
then, you know. Then they'd be calling shortly after that probably, so. And that is all I had for today.
You know, if we talk to these young people, is it better to leave other time for them to ask questions?
You'd want to leave some time,
To
yeah.
me,
So you don't want
maybe the
to,
question may be more important than what we,
well, you could, and that's what I'm saying, you could go through that list of things and then ask if they have any questions and give them time to answer.
you know, the budget of 47 million, it's not 47, is it?
That's what Budget Authority is for next year. So I took off of the budget. The ad valorem tax was 35 million.
I'm sorry.
The ad valorem tax is 35 million, but the Budget Authority for expenditures for next year is 47,294,000.
Okay.
That's all I have.
That all you got?
Yep.
Anybody got anything else? So we won't recess.
Right.
Nobody has any objections, we can adjourn at 12:34. We will adjourn.
Hey, we've covered a lot.